Welcome to SicEm365 Radio.
Winning has a price, and leadership has a price. So I pulled people along when they didn't want to be pulled. I challenged people when they didn't want to be challenged. And I earned that right because my teammates came after me. They didn't endure all the things that I endured.
SicEm365 Radio is presented by IdealMRI.com. High-quality MRIs for $497 or less. IdealMRI.com. Your health is important, so is your budget.
And once again, Romo with lots of times.
Good route.
This is easy.
Oh, I love it. What a great route.
The 3 o'clock hour is sponsored by Waco Custom Marketplace. Meats, sweets, Texas treats, and a cut above the rest. 425 Lake Air Drive, Waco.
3rd and 3. We'll see a pickup sometime on the right side, possibly. Montana looking, throwing in the end zone. Clark caught it! Dwight Clark!
Here's David Smoke, Paul Catalina, and Craig Smoke.
All right, here we go. Stick your head in a tank of gasoline and light it with a match. We have numerous guests today, plus a lot of great topics, including a couple of NFL players that are in serious trouble. Bad news, at least it appears, for a former Astros manager and among a Mets manager, A's manager, and Art Howe, plus Bob Watson news. Tony Romo interviewing young quarterbacks in a special on CBS, plus much more. We have today Craig Smoke, Paul Catalina, and Deontay Epps. He and I are at odds right now. Deontay and I are, he's got his uncle on today, so he's a little frisky. Philip Epps, former TCU and Packers, right?
Yep.
Atlanta High School, where they just absolutely, you walk into Atlanta High School, you have to be fast. All right, so we have guests, including for 28 years, the Vice President of Operations of the Chicago Bulls, Steve Shenwald. And we also have Carroll Dawson, who was the general manager of the Rockets. He also was a coach and player at Baylor. Philip Epps, Grayson Grunhafer on a possible graduate transfer look at a Houston lineman. Who else do we have? Oh, Sam Bradshaw on his series for SicEm365 on Larry Fedora and his offense, and also Randy Cross, former NFL offensive lineman. Craig, what's going on with these two young the defensive backs? What the heck did they do?
Are you talking about in the NFL?
Yeah, Quentin Dunbar and DeAndre Baker are both arrested, is that right, for armed robbery?
Yeah, so they were at a party yesterday, or I guess in the last few days. The story came out yesterday. They were at a party, and apparently at one point in the party, things took a little bit of a turn, and a gun was pulled, and apparently DeAndre Baker and these two players both were involved in basically robbing the partygoers at gunpoint or something and taking all of their jewelry and cash and things that they had, and it's a bizarre story because here we are in the midst of this quarantine and this off season, and you would think these guys would be hanging out, staying home or doing whatever, and instead they're at a party, and that's fine. But what goes off in your brain to where you go, I think I'm gonna risk it all at like 24, 22 years old and just start robbing my friends and taking their stuff and then getting in trouble for it. And that's basically what happened. Like, it's a very bizarre story just because you have to wonder what went through these guys' heads.
Well, I mean, you don't need the money, you would think.
No.
I mean, DeAndre Baker, I don't know Quentin Dunbar's financial situation other than the Redskins gave him a contract a couple years ago, and then they traded him to the Seahawks. So he's got NFL money coming. And I do know about DeAndre Baker. He got first-round guaranteed money, which now pretty much for first-round picks is almost all guaranteed. Instead of a signing bonus, you get just your full salary guaranteed each year and some up front. So unless he blew all that money in a year, I don't know what's going on here, why you would go ahead and do that.
Yeah, no, it's bizarre. So warrants are out for these guys, DeAndre Baker of the Giants and Dunbar of the Seahawks, and I've seen a lot of Redskins fans making the joke of, wow, the Redskins actually made a good decision because they traded Dunbar before he got into trouble. But this occurred 2 days ago down in Florida. Baker's been charged with 4 counts of armed robbery with a firearm, 4 counts of aggravated assault with a firearm. Dunbar's been charged with 4 counts of armed robbery. So we're talking very, very serious charges. Per the police report, Baker took money and watches from victims and with force and was armed with a semi-automatic. Dunbar was assisting Baker in taking money and valuables from attendees at a party in Miramar, Florida. The pair were allegedly hanging at a cookout when an argument ensued, resulting in Baker revealing a semi-automatic firearm. Baker then allegedly... CBS has this written wrong, but Baker directed a third member wearing a mask to shoot a person who entered the party, but the gun was not fired. So, yeah, they just went to a party and lost their minds, basically.
Well, let's make sure you rob people that know you.
Yeah, like, what in the world? You're at a cookout.
Oh, my God. So they're both, you sit there and go, I can't believe this. No, I can. Not because of those two. I don't know much about them, but just we have to have something stirred up. Art Howe in ICU due to coronavirus. Art Howe managed the Astros, the Athletics, the New York Mets, played a long time with Pittsburgh and Houston, and then St. Louis. Pretty good player, pretty good manager. He's hospitalized with coronavirus.
He got a real bum rap. I mean, he had a fantastic actor play him in Moneyball and Philip Seymour Hoffman, but he got a real bum rap because they had to make somebody the bad guy.
Right.
So they just picked Art Howe.
Yeah. He could have been Brad Pitt, but it's Philip Seymour Hoffman's pretty good though. But yeah, they had to make him the bad guy.
Yeah,
also, go ahead.
That's what Art Howe was one of the better managers in the league for a long, long time.
Bob Watson, longtime baseball player and manager. He was around like almost seemed like as long, if not longer, than Art Howe. He passed away today at a young age. I think they said kidney failure.
Yeah, and Bob Watson is 74 years old. He's the guy who built the Yankees in the 90s. Brian Cashman's been the GM since Bob Watson left that post, but Bob Watson was the guy who brought in the Derek Jeter, Bernie Williams, Mariano Rivera Yankees. Like, he was the guy who created that dynasty.
Yeah, and he was a good player, too. Pretty good, not a great player, but a good player. So the two stories there that are a part of it. Now, Craig gave me this. Tony Romo to interview Daniel Jones of the Giants, Josh Allen of Buffalo, and Sam Darnold of the Jets in a CBS special, In the Huddle with Tony Romo. They just made this up, didn't they?
Guess what you got to do right now?
A week from Sunday. So he's got a long way to go, a week from Sunday. But I think that, I bet Romo's pretty, he's great at analyzing a game. I bet he's really good. He didn't like being interviewed, but I bet unless it was somebody like elite, and that was also because he was protected so much, but I bet he's probably pretty good at this. Why not?
I would think so. I mean, he played for a really long time. He's a good talker, obviously, which is why he's now making more money broadcasting than he made playing, which is, not the normal story for most guys, especially quarterbacks like him. They've usually made just so much money. The Peyton Mannings and those types, hundreds of millions of dollars. So they're still taking a step down. Romo made good money there towards the end, but he's making just crazy money now as a color commentator. So, yeah, I think, Daniel Jones, Sam Darnold still have a lot to prove. Josh Allen does too, but Josh Allen, good player. I think Darnold and Jones are good players. So, yeah, 3 young quarterbacks and Romo going one-on-one and should be, just some nice little sports viewing since we have such a void right now.
Yeah, I remember the day that they announced that Romo was taking the number 1 job at CBS. And I remember thinking, man, that's just such a big leap for a guy who seems to hate cameras.
Oh, no.
And microphones as much as he does. And he was very sarcastic and sometimes playful, but we had Todd Archer on, who he used to just kind of get after for some reason in those little media scrums for no apparent reason at all. Like, there's a couple times I was there and I remember asking Todd, like, did you do something to Tony? Did you park in his space or something like that today? I don't know what's going on. Why he's picking on you so much. Like, I don't know. But Romo turned out to be, the next John Madden, and here he is making all this money. So I'm sure he'll do great. I've never seen him do an interview before, but
I just saw this, and I'm just reading this because I saw it flash on my timeline as we have a couple of other stories to get to. We'll have Steve Shanwald, former vice president of operations for the Bulls during the Last Dance for many years, 88 to 2015. From Jim Trotter, NFL writer. NFL owners will vote next week on a resolution that would improve a team's draft position if it hires a person of color as head coach or general manager. I really, for a minute, thought this was one of those accounts like Ian Rappaport or others that you get fooled by, or Adam Schefter. Now, they need to figure it out. And it seemed like it's gone backwards. 17-year low on 2 black general managers, 4 head coaches of color. Is that how you improve it, by giving better draft picks?
Maybe in the short term, but in the long term, is it going to, well, what if your general manager retires and you're the Super Bowl, say you win the Super Bowl and your general manager retires? Are you going to improve their draft pick as well, or is it for the teams that are hiring when they're losing too?
I'm going to look at the reactions to this, but go ahead. You have anything on that, Craig?
No, I saw this story right before we went on air, and there's been some interesting comments to it. Of course, people are kind of, I think, just taking it in and sort of split on the initial notion of it. The thing with the hiring of minority coaches in the NFL is there is a big underrepresentation as far as African-American head coaches, African-American general managers, and owners as well. I don't know that the solution to changing that percentage is by rewarding teams for hiring general managers, head coaches. You can't hire owners, obviously, but I don't know that rewarding is the way to do it. I also don't know how you do it to make sure that teams go out and hire more people of color to fill those spots. And it's hard because I understand the motive, because like one of the responses I saw to somebody commenting on the story was like, well, this percentage of the country is African-American and this percentage of general managers is African-American. So see, it's the same. And then somebody quickly pointed out, no, it's not the same, because we're not talking about the country. We're talking about the NFL, where the percentages are vastly different than
70% of the NFL.
Yeah. Is African-American.
Yeah.
So then if you have 4 guys who are in these positions and 70% of the rosters are African-American, then there is a disparity there. So I think that, yes, there's absolutely some evening out that needs to occur somehow, but I don't know how you get there, and it's clear that the NFL doesn't know either, because they're just kind of throwing stuff at the wall if now they're going the route of, we'll reward you if you do this.
Yeah, they're bypassing the Rooney Rule. We know this. Deontay,
because the Rooney Rule never worked.
You might give us your thoughts.
I think it's I agree that the Rooney Rule needs to be changed, but I don't necessarily agree that this is the way to go about it. I think it's just weird, just rewarding, we need to get this number up. I understand that because it's low at this point, but it's just weird automatically giving them an incentive to do so.
This example is strange to you.
I just feel like this is more like you'll probably get more teams to hire just for the incentive, not because this candidate fits.
Yeah, are you going to hire an African-American or minority coach or GM because you want a higher draft pick, or because they're the right fit?
Well, and
they're the right hire.
And if they're not the right fit, what you're doing to them is unfair, in that this could be someone who, in the right job, could flourish and be great, could be fantastic at their job. But because you're saying, oh, man, we can get a top 10 pick now, let's go hire this guy.
I can't imagine this passes.
I can't imagine it because of that right there, because then you're setting people up for failure.
Well,
right there. They do need to amend the Rooney Rule so that, Jerry Jones, I don't know who I guess he interviewed Chris Richard and Mike McCarthy.
Yeah.
We think.
We think. I mean, they've got to get rid of the token interviews. They've got to get rid of the, hey, come in the office and let me ask you if you want to be the head coach, and then I've already got my guy.
What's the Rooney Rule? What's the percentage of people that need to be hired of color?
You have to. All I know is you have to interview at least one
minority candidate.
Yes, and
I think
it may be more than that, but I just know that the basic rule is you have to interview at least one minority candidate.
It's insulting because there might be 5 for this job, and I hate even saying 5. I'm talking about candidates, and if all of them are minority, that's great. If none of them are, that happens too. But just, I understand needing, because I think the original plan, am I wrong? The original reason they wanted to do this was to give African American and or minority candidates who have head coaching
Aspirations.
potential and aspirations, a chance to go through the process, so that if they go through the process enough, they'll be more and more comfortable and also be able to be seen by more owners.
That was a big part of it.
That was the reason I thought they did it, and they were hoping it would lead to more of the hiring. It did for a flourish, but it's right back to where
I would even recommend, if you're gonna make people interview somebody or say you have to hit this number, I would say it has to be more than one, and it has to be someone who's not already in your building, because it would make you branch out. Because what I think a lot of teams are doing now, so they can skirt it, is what Jerry Jones did. He knew he wanted to hire Mike McCarthy. He knew that, and that's fine. He got the guy he wanted to hire, but instead of interviewing a vast array of candidates, he went to check the boxes he was required to, and then. Are you really looking into minority candidates if you're just like, well, Chris Richard's an African American, he's here in the building, I'll let him run through the car wash?
You know, we saw Eric Bieniemy, who should be a head coach by now, get several interviews, and it almost felt like, even though he was a worthy candidate and probably could have been hired by some of these teams, they just interviewed him just to check off the Rooney Rule box.
Yeah.
And that's where the Rooney Rule went sideways, and why it's turned into nothing of what it was supposed to originally be. Now, if you want to get into some of the details of exactly how teams would be rewarded, here are a couple of examples that have been provided. If a team hires a minority head coach, that team in the draft preceding the coach's second season. So let's say you hire Brian Flores, and after his first year, you're going into the draft. At that point, that team would move up 6 spots from where it's slotted to pick in the 3rd round, not in the 1st. A team would jump 10 spots under the same scenario for hiring a person of color as its football exec, a.k.a. their GM. So you would pick 6 spots higher in the 3rd round.
What if you hired a minority GM and a head coach?
Well,
then you get like...
I've got that.
Okay.
If a team were to fill both positions with diverse candidates in the same year, that club could jump 16 spots.
Wow.
6 for the coach, 10 for the GM, and potentially move from the top of the 3rd to the middle of the 2nd. Another incentive, a team's 4th round pick would climb 5 spots in the draft, preceding the coaches or GM. So, like this is just
that's almost like that. That's really complicated. If it helps,
it
helps. And you hope at some point that just the right people are being hired. We got to move on. By the way, Leon on the Riverbend Liquor and Wine Hotline said that's just a flat-out slap in the face for discrimination. That's from Leon on the text line. When we come back, the Willis Law Firm chat room is open. Have you watched The Last Dance, the last 2 episodes Sunday night? Steve Shanwald. Well, he was there for 28 years, right in the core of The Last Dance, in the Jordan years, and the Jordan everything else. He's next on SicEm365 Radio. Alan Samuels, Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram. Let me tell you about a guy named AJ. The cat in the hat is what they say about him. Everybody knows my story. I had a Tahoe that was 377,000 miles on it. Finally, this year, another thing went wrong. Something, a very inexpensive part, very inexpensive, but it would have cost about $700, $800 in labor to get it out and replace it. And so finally, I went and looked at another car, a pre-owned car from Alan Samuels, Dodge Chrysler, Jeep Ram, Fiat. AJ was my guy. And he knew kind of what I wanted. He had a couple of things cars out in front, like the crossover type cars out in this side. I looked at them, and as we walked the lot, just for a little bit, I noticed this white Ford Explorer in the background, up against the fence. 2017, that's the one I got. And it's just one of those things that I just happened to glance at. I can't tell you how good AJ was from the start of the process to the very end, how he followed up with me. And if you go, by the way, to Alan Samuels, Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram, Fiat on the Loop, 340, and also east of 84, tell them that Smokey sent you. And right now, the new Ram trucks and Jeeps and Dodge and Chrysler cars, the 0% back for the month, 0% for 72 months, no payments for 120 days. There are opportunities, whether pre-owned, certified, brand new, trucks, SUVs, crossovers, even whatever you want with a four-door sedan or something they can get up and go. I'm telling you right now, Alan Samuels, Dodge Chrysler. Jeep Ram Fiat set me up. AJ, ask for AJ. Alan Samuels, Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram Fiat, Loop 340 east of 84 in Waco. Live crawfish is back. The 30-pound bags of live crawfish, as delicious as you could imagine, back at Waco Custom Marketplace at 425 Lake Air Drive in Waco. $3 a pound, 30-pound live crawfish bags are available. You order by Thursday at noon. You can pick up your customized order anytime on Friday afternoon until 6 p.m. And the drive-thru now open at Waco Custom Marketplace Monday through Friday from 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. You can still order what you want from their butcher shop, including beef and poultry, seafood, and also pork. And, of course, their bakery. You can order from their bakery. You can go online, WacoCustomMarketplace.com, or go by the drive-thru. Waco Custom Marketplace, live crawfish available Monday through Friday, 10 a.m. to 6.
Ideal MRI is a small family business right here in Central Texas. We are open to support our community through this crisis. When you need an MRI, ask your doctor for an Ideal MRI. Visit us at idealmri.com or call us at 833-IDEAL-MRI.
Hey, this is Bryce Petty, former starting quarterback and two-time Big 12 champion, and I know firsthand the importance of being in top shape both on and off the field. So listen up, men. If you're feeling beat down day in and day out and looking for that high-performance edge that separates the men from the boys, then look no further than the Petty Clinic Low T in Waco. Petty Clinic is a comprehensive men's healthcare clinic with an atmosphere catering to men. Board-certified Dr. Kent Petty has a special interest in offering the highest quality medical care to men of all ages. Some of the services offered include screening and treatment for low testosterone or thyroid, infertility, high blood pressure, diabetes, high cholesterol, sleep apnea, while offering comprehensive wellness exams and complete men's health lab panels. High performance men, remember, it's not just a Petty thing. This is Bryce Petty, encouraging you to reach out and Google search Petty Clinic Low T or go to pettycliniclowt.com and get your complimentary lab screening today.
Our communities are facing unprecedented times. At Boozer's Jewelers, we care about you and your family. If you're like me, your home has unwanted or unused jewelry lying around. They can have value, and that means we can turn that jewelry into instant cash. This is a great way to get the most value from your unwanted jewelry. At Boozer's Jewelers, we buy all kinds of unused jewelry. So give us a call and let us give you peace of mind and cash for your unwanted or unused jewelry.
It takes time to reach goals. It's a truth that applies to more than sports. It goes for your financial goals as well. You work hard for your money, and you deserve an investment strategy that lines up with your game plan. And Tom Albers, your Edward Jones financial advisor, can help. If your financial investments aren't putting forth the effort you desire, stop by today for a financial review. Tom Albers, 4301 Lakeshore Drive, 254-776-7605. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
Do you or your kids get nervous about going to the dentist? Stonewood Dental, Dr. Steve Childress, he can help.
I've spent a career taking care of patients who as children had bad experiences, and now they're adults that hate going to the dentist. If I get a kid at 3 years old and they come every 6 months and it's a happy experience, it's normal for them. Now they have an accident at 6 or 7 or 8 at school. Now they have a broken tooth or a trauma, and they have to come here. They're used to lights, they're used to water in their mouth, they're used to experience, they already trust us. It's amazing what we can do with that kid without it being a negative thing. But if I see a 6 or 7 or 8 year old that's never been to the dentist, and now they have a trauma or an unfortunate unexpected toothache, it's harder to do that for that kid and it not be somewhat of a negative experience. So bottom line is I try to teach kids and adults and teenagers and everybody the way I'd want my family treated, which is where it's a necessary part of life. You just take care of it. It doesn't have to be that big a deal.
Learn more, stonewood-dental.com.
This is SicEm365 Radio. The SicEm365 Radio Live Guest VIP Hotline is sponsored by Stonewood Dental. We are all in this together.
You know, going to the dentist can be a petrifying thing, but not with Dr. Steve Childress and his great staff at Stonewood Dental. It's just as comfortable as you could possibly be going to a dentist, whether it's a cleaning or major surgery. We're now joined by Steve Shanwall, 28 years with the Chicago Bulls from 1988 to 2015, and he joins. I got to thank the sports family, Martin, Joe, and among others, for setting this up with us. Man, Steve, you are phenomenal, because I got the note, hey, call Steve. I text you, and next thing you know, you're on with us like in less than an hour. And so thanks for your convenience and also your hospitality for being a part. How have you enjoyed all of what you've seen with The Last Dance?
I think it's been outstanding. It's must-see TV, as everybody's saying. Everybody's talking about it. I'm so glad that we had the foresight to document that crazy season of ours. And it's brought back a lot of memories, and I think it's told pretty much the unvarnished truth, warts and all. I mean, even Michael, who was heavily involved, I mean, it couldn't have happened without his blessing and his permission. They even showed some warts of his, which I think is admirable. So it's been a warts and all show, but it's been a very well done, accurately portrayed documentary. And I'm glad that people, especially who were born of a generation after Michael was done playing, are able to see why all of us who saw him play have always said he's the GOAT.
You were there in 1988, so that's right as he was starting his ascent to be the greatest of all time and had really started to explode onto the national scene. When did you guys realize and wrap your hands around that you were now in charge of, business-wise, the greatest sports property that you could possibly imagine?
Well, I got there actually in '87. It was actually January of '87. It was the middle of the '86-'87 season. We finished, I think it was 40 and 42 that year, or 40 and 41. It was Michael's third year, and he was coming off, as you'll recall from the documentary. His second year, he was injured for most of that year, and then he had that phenomenal series against the Boston Celtics in the playoffs. And I guess from the first moment I saw him play a professional game, which would have been his rookie year, I had been working for the White Sox at that time. I knew that he would be, something very, very special that we could build around. Now, of course, it took us acquiring some time to acquire all the necessary talent to win all those championships that followed. But I knew that we had somebody that was going to electrify stadium audiences all over the world, as it turned out. You knew almost immediately as you saw him, the first time you saw him play professionally, because he was kind of, at Carolina, nobody really realized. I don't know if Dean Smith and Roy Williams realized what they had there. It wasn't until he became unleashed in the NBA that people realized that this guy was just spectacular, and that every night was going to be electrifying, and that every night would be kind of akin to the opening of a Broadway show.
Steve, you talked about how there was, I guess, a bit of a mix of emotions that you watch when you're viewing this, because there's the good times, there's the bad times, there's the ugly times. For you, just initially getting back into that mindset that you had back then and having it refreshed, like what were the kind of flood of feelings that hit you initially?
Initially, when I watched Michael, or
when you watched the documentary and kind of rehashed that time period?
Oh, I see. Well, it just, that last year, the Last Dance year, I worked really hard at trying to. Sometimes we're so busy going through life that we don't sit back every day and smell the roses and appreciate what we're experiencing at the time. That last year, I worked really, really hard at trying to soak in everything that was going on around me, soak in everything that I was blessed to be witness to in an up-close and personal way. And I knew the only sad thing I tell people about that year was that I knew it would never be that good for me again, because we had on that team the league's greatest hero, Batman, if you want to call him. We had Robin and Scottie Pippen, so we had his partner in crime, so to speak. And then we had the league's kind of biggest kind of anti-hero, the league's biggest villain, a guy that opponents loved to hate, but of course we hated him when he played for the Pistons, and he came to play for us, and we loved him. So it was like the WWF every single night. And I remember I always had a seat courtside for every game. And I just remember consciously telling myself, all right, this is it. It's never going to be this good again for you. You'll never see anything like this again. Sit back and soak it all in, look around, and take the time to smell the roses. The opportunity now through The Last Dance to remember and how the franchise was built, how those teams were built, the controversies that existed in building those teams, the great moments and great memories. I'm just very thankful that. The only thing I wish some of that videotape was in HD. But other than that, I think it's been great.
Now, you were at, what, the Air Force Academy? You were with the Pirates, is that correct? The Pittsburgh Pirates?
Yeah, I started off, I worked in the athletic marketing department at the University of Maryland. And that led, as an undergrad, that led to a job with the U.S. Air Force Academy. My first year there, Bill Parcells, my only year there, actually, 1978, Bill Parcells was the head football coach at the academy, and his first ever job as a head coach at any level. And Greg Popovich was the assistant basketball coach at that time in 1978. I went from there to the Pittsburgh Pirates, got my first championship ring with the Pirates in 1979. Those were the We Are Family Pirates of Willie Stargell and Dave Parker and all those guys. I was there for 2 years. And then I got hired by the Chicago White Sox when Jerry Reinsdorf bought the White Sox, went to work for them in 1981. And I was there for 6 years, during which time Jerry Reinsdorf had a conversation with George Steinbrenner, who was a part owner of the Chicago Bulls, and he ended up buying the Chicago Bulls in the middle of Michael Jordan's rookie season. And it's just funny how things work out. And I was just right place, right time stuff.
Yeah, there's a great picture of Steve actually that I saw earlier today when I was looking up some stuff of the 6 NBA championships and the World Series title. He's standing in the middle of all of it. It's a great shot. Yeah, it's an absolutely great shot.
Yeah, I was very fortunate. I mean, I think about all the great players, I mean, the Ernie Bankses of the world, the Al Kalines, the Carl Yastrzemskis, guys that never got a ring, and I was able to get 7 of them.
Man.
Steve Shanwell with us, 28 years, and he also, again, they had a goodbye to him. Sam Smith wrote a great column about it, and he was honored as well as a member of what the Bulls organization was for many, many years. He joins us right now on SicEm365 Radio.
Steve, we've been up to Chicago a few times to cover some events like the draft, and you know, I've gone there, you know, just on vacation and things to go to ball games. Chicago is, in my opinion, the greatest sports city that you can possibly go to. They have the most informed fans. Everybody's always up to go to a game. You know, for the most, like when the teams are great, they're great. Of course, you know, people are kind of in whatever it is, whether it's baseball, basketball, football, or hockey, they're into it. Did that make Michael Jordan's run a little bit more special because you do have a city that just gets sports like Chicago does?
It did, and we were the center of the sports universe during the 90s. There's no question about that. You could only imagine how much bigger it would have been had social media been in its peak at that time. It wasn't, but the internet was just getting started. But yes, the social fabric of Chicago revolves around its sports teams, politics too to a certain extent, but it's sports teams. And it was fun. You know, people ask me, what do I enjoy most about my job? Well, you know, being, you know, one of the things, I mean, 3 things usually. One of those was, you know, being a part of an entity that is the focal point of a community. It just doesn't get any better than that, especially the 3rd largest city in America, especially a city where sports is so important to the 8 million people who live there. And of course, I never had any problem getting the best table in a restaurant or a reservation, and it was nice to be in that position. But again, I got to do so many cool things when I worked there. I mean, because of, you know, Michael's presence, I got to play Augusta National a few times and got to stay, you know, live in the Butler cabin and stay on the grounds there, and you know, got to play every major golf course in the world. Got to go to the White House numerous times, met 6 presidents of the United States. I mean, all because of his presence there. And of course, we have to give credit to people like Jerry Krause, who was a tough man to work for, who certainly has gotten his share of criticism during the series, but who without him putting the pieces around Michael Jordan, without him trading the draft rights to Olden Colonies for Scottie Pippen, who was the second best player in the league during that era, without him trading a guy he loved, Charles Oakley, for Bill Cartwright, without him being willing to sign a guy nobody else wanted in Dennis Rodman, without him seeing the value of guys like John Paxson and Steve Kerr, I wouldn't have gotten to do any of that. So I was just very blessed to be in the right place at the right time and a part of really one of the most legendary years, I think, in the history of any sport.
Steve, you were incredibly innovative and on the cutting edge versus your peers in terms of just in-game activities. You were responsible for courtside seats going at higher ticket prices, whereas at one point they were going for like $40, and you recommended like, hey, let's raise this to $100, and now they're like probably
thousands,
2,000 plus. The in-game presentation, just you took something that I guess technically wasn't all that cool at the time. The NBA was cool, but it was cool to a certain segment, and you opened it up through your vision and through your just creativity. Where did that sort of foresight go to see what was missing from the product and its presentation and where to fill all of that in and basically change the game, because now every team has a little bit of what you started?
Yeah. Well, when I got there, you're right. Courtside tickets, very first row, sitting along the court with $40, and I suggested to our owner Jerry Reinsdorf we raise it to $100 because I could just sense that we were just dramatically undervalued. We were undervalued in ticket pricing. We were undervalued in our corporate scoreboard signage, and so I recommended that we increase those prices. And of course, now those same courtside seats generally go for $2,500 to $3,000 per seat per game.
Wow!
In terms of entertainment, as great as we were, I knew that we weren't always going to be that great, and I knew that every game wasn't always going to be that entertaining. Some games we'd blow people out, and other games would be tight. You don't need anything else, but I recognized that the people that were coming to games, a lot of them were first-timers who were being exposed to NBA basketball for the first time. And so I wanted to provide, especially for the ticket prices that we started to charge, as much entertainment value as we could. When you go to Las Vegas, if you remember the great Siegfried and Roy magic shows in Vegas, they weren't just two guys standing up on stage pulling rabbits out of hats. It was a sight and sound extravaganza. The game is a 48-minute game, 4 12-minute quarters, but people are in their seats for 2.5 hours. Now, how do you fill that extra hour and 45 minutes? Well, you got to come up with stuff. So every halftime there was a show. Every timeout break there was something going on. And of course now that's common practice around the NBA. But I just felt like we had to give people more for their dollar, because not every game was going to be entertaining. Some of the people that great fanatical basketball fans that only needed basketball to be entertained were bringing with them were first-time attendees who didn't know anything about the game. We wanted to make sure they had a good time too. So we provided a lot of entertainment around that 48 minutes of basketball.
Every intro from your team on out is knocking you guys off. I mean, that's what it is. That you had the best player intros. There'll never be anybody who equals what you guys did.
The
music,
awesome.
the piano, like everything was perfect about it.
Yeah, that's Parsons project, Eye in the Sky, and yeah, that is iconic. And I've seen it kind of offended me actually that there were times when other NBA teams were using that, and I felt like we had kind of proprietary rights to it. But yeah, people use it at weddings, and they use it at bar mitzvahs, and they use it at all kinds of things now, and it's it's iconic, and hopefully the Bulls will never change it.
Steve, the Michael Jordan who he pushed everybody, he pushed everybody because he pushed himself. Have you ever seen Tiger Woods is kind of someone that you think about that's like that, and there's maybe one or two, but is anyone ever been, you think, more focused on winning? And not that people don't want to win, but focused on winning and doing whatever it takes to be at that level as him?
I got a call from Sports Illustrated a couple of days ago, and here's what I told them about that. I was fortunate enough to be asked to commission the creation of a Michael Jordan statue. Our owner asked me to commission the creation of a statue. and the statue has also become iconic and must see. Anybody that goes to Chicago really has to take time out to go to the United Center and see the statue. All day long, you would see people come in from not only all over the country but all over the world to get their picture taken in front of that statue. Anyway, I had inscribed at the base of the statue two things. One was, the best there ever was, the best there ever will be. And of course, that was before the acronym GOAT ever came into common vernacular. And so what I said was that, hey, look, I said to Sports Illustrated, I knew that, there's a long time, so I know that somebody's going to come along at some point who's as good. And there are certainly arguments today about that very thing. But I don't think it's possible for somebody to ever come along who's any better than Michael, because on a scale of 1 to 10, by any standard that we use to measure a professional athlete, to me, he was a 10 in every measurable category. He was a 10 in competitiveness. He was a 10 in the relentless pursuit of perfection. He was a 10 in his drive to win. He was a 10 offensively. He was a 10 defensively. He was a 10 in his athleticism. He was a guy that was never satisfied, was always looking to do more and to be better, and recognize that there was always somebody going to be there. Never seen him play before, and seeing him maybe for the first and only time. He was a 10 in terms of his intelligence about the game, the way the game should be played. A lot of credit for that goes to Dean Smith and, of course, Phil. He was a 10 in terms of a guy, and this is the way ultimately superstars are judged. Does he make their teammates better? Well, he made his teammates better, no question about it. His off-the-court style, the way he looked when he met the media, he looked like a Fortune 500 CEO. Now, most athletes came in jeans and a nice polo shirt. Michael would get dressed, and he would look like not just $1 million, he'd look like $1 billion. The way he was marketed, his public interactions, his philanthropy. He was a 10 in all those things. And because there were no weaknesses, the gentleman from SI asked me, why didn't I put the GOAT? I said, well, I didn't even know the GOAT existed back then. I don't think it did. But to me, the phrase, the best there ever was, the best there ever will be, was appropriate. Then I saw a movie. This is what Michael was playing for us. And when I heard this quote in the movie, it made me think of Michael. And the quote went like this. First of all, I told the sculptor that I wanted him to come up with a design that would create the illusion of Michael in flight, in the air. The quote that I saw that I heard in this movie while I was watching it that I loved, that made me think of Michael, was this. I knew surely and clearly that I was witnessing perfection. He stood before us, suspended above the earth, free from all its laws like a work of art. And I knew just as surely and clearly that life is not a work of art and that the moment could not last. And I felt like that expressed perfectly how I and millions of other people felt about watching the way Michael Jordan played basketball.
Well, that's perfect. Steve, I know you got to move on, and we as well. Thank you again. Did you have a relationship, or you knew Homer Drew? Is that
Homer and Scott and Bryce? They're all dear friends of mine. Have been ever since they were all associated with Valparaiso basketball, which is right down the street from Chicago. In fact, the year Bryce hit that shot with his nickname Pacer was their name for that play. The year that happened, I invited Homer and Scott, who was an assistant coach at that time for Valpo, and Bryce, and the entire Valpo team to come out, and we honored them in a Bulls game. That's awesome.
And, of course, we're here in Waco, and Scott Drew, what he's done at Baylor University has been phenomenal. Thank you so much, man. We had Will Perdue on Tuesday. We had Rick Telander. And we've had you, and it kind of gives us a great way to kind of take a national thing and localize it, be it a part of our show, and we appreciate it, and best of luck to you.
It's my pleasure, and if I can just say, I think Baylor is so blessed to have somebody like Scott Drew overseeing their men's basketball program. They just don't make people any better than Scott. They don't make people any more concerned about the welfare of their players than Scott. And I think he's probably the most, as far as I'm concerned, the most underrated college basketball coach in America.
It would have been great to see the tournament play out if they could have gotten it done, but obviously it was canceled. Hey, thank you so much. Steve Shanwall with us, 28 years in the Chicago Bulls organization, a different insight into the Bulls, into Michael Jordan, the statue and what he put on it, Thanks again to Martin and Joe Schwartz for helping set that up for us.
Think about how iconic that Jordan statue imagery is, and he was directly responsible for that. And you think about all the pregame intro and the various things that he had a direct hand in. I mean, this is the guy that basically is responsible for courtside seats being so premium. He's the guy responsible for, Benny the Bull running around doing craziness in between timeouts and just all the stuff that you get at games nowadays. He was on the cutting edge of all of that, and as he explained in detail how that all came to be. So, yeah, that was fascinating to get another perspective on what was truly a very interesting and special era.
That was fantastic. And
nice words about Scott Drew.
Martin Schwartz now has had a couple of assists to the shows that we've done, and one of them was Vinny Johnson back a long time ago. And then Vinny now with Steve Shanball joining us. Fantastic. The last two episodes, Sunday night starts at 8 o'clock Central, episodes 9 and 10. It's kind of helped carry us through the early part of the spring. When we come back, we'll hear from Sam Bradshaw, famously known as...
Grayson
that's right.
Grunhafer.
I'm sorry. He's at 5. Grayson Grunhafer on many things. What's going on with recruiting with Baylor from SicEm365. This is SicEm365 Radio. All right, so right now, you were smart enough to call in and order ahead 30-pound bags of live crawfish. I actually went by Waco Custom Marketplace earlier today. I was looking for just a couple of things. So I went through the drive-thru. You go around the side of the building to the back. It's a big bay area, kind of like where they would be the delivery area now that they've turned into a where you can order. And they have this big menu in front of you if you want to check off this or that. So I was looking for a couple of different things. The people there are always so great. Then you order, you meet on the side, they walk out, they hand you your product, whatever it is, from the bakery and or the butcher shop. And then you drive away after you pay. It's that easy. Monday through Friday, 10 a.m. to 6 p.m., Waco Custom Marketplace is open, so you've got just over 2 hours before they close up. And if you order sometime by early Thursday afternoon, 30-pound bags of live crawfish, you'll have it for what you need over the weekend and pick it up on Friday. Waco Custom Marketplace, we know what the Bauer family has done. The bakery, the butcher shop, and more. And the drive-thru open Monday through Friday from 10 a.m. to 6. Live crawfish orders by Thursday. Pick it up on Friday at 425 Lake Air Drive in Waco.
Alan Samuels presents the return of 0%. It's back. 0% for 72 and no payments for up to 120 days. Choose your car, truck, or SUV and get 0% financing with no payments for 120 days through Chrysler Capital. New Rams, new Jeeps, and new Dodge SUVs and minivans. Shop safely at our dealership. Shop and buy online, and we deliver test drives to you. Your friend in the car business. Alan Samuels Dodge, Chrysler, Jeep, Ram, Fiat.
Let Camille Johnson Realtors guide you seamlessly through the process of buying your dream home or selling your current one. Commercial, farm and ranch, or residential, Camille Johnson Realtors can smoothly and successfully lead you through any transaction with a team of 24 experienced agents who are excited about serving you. Camille Johnson Realtors services the entire greater Waco area. If you're in the market to buy or sell, contact Camille Johnson Realtors, 104 Midway Center in Woodway, or find them online at www.camillejohnson.com. Camille Johnson Realtors, elegant, charming, warm. Welcome home.
Texas board-certified personal injury trial lawyer and Baylor alum David Willis and Baylor alum Parker Willis are ready to help if you or a loved one has been wrongfully injured in an auto accident, SUV rollover, industrial accident, 18-wheeler crash, or were seriously injured by a defective product or recall drug. Call them for a confidential and free case consultation at 1-800-GOT-HURT or visit them at texastriallawyer.com. Principal office located in Houston, Texas.
Do you love Friday Night Lights? Would you like to have a bigger role than just watching the action to ensure the games are played fairly and safely? The Waco football chapter of the Texas Association of Sports Officials, or TASO, can make that happen. The 2020 Texas high school football season is right around the corner, and we need you to be a part of it. There's a shortage of officials across the state in all sports, and you can help. If you love the game and want to be a part of the solution, you can help our local student athletes continue to participate in games they love. Never officiated before? Don't worry. Waco Football Chapter can help you and prepare you to make the right call. And right now, Introduction to Football Officiating class is accepting registrations. Make your first great call today by looking us up and contacting us on Facebook at Waco Football Chapter or at our website, wacofootballchapter.com. Find out more about the Waco Football Chapter of the Texas Association of Sports Officials, or TASO. Go to wacofootballchapter.com.
The 3 o'clock hour is sponsored by Waco Custom Marketplace. Meats, sweets, Texas treats, and a cut above the rest. 425 Lake Air Drive, Waco.
Hi, this is Conley football coach Shane Anderson. I'm a proud listener and supporter of the all-new SicEm365 radio show with David Smoke, Paul Catalina, and Craig Smoke.
Riverbend Liquor and Wine has their easy-to-access drive-thru open and convenient and clean in-store location on the corner of Lakeshore Drive and North 19th Street in Waco. Riverbend Liquor has the best and most extensive variety of craft beer selections in Waco, and Balcones whiskey, including single malt, pot still, baby blue, French oak, rye, and brimstone. Riverbend Liquor and Wine, family-owned and operated, and a hidden gem in Waco on Lakeshore Drive and 19th Street. And find out more on Facebook and Instagram.
Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics, the team physician of Baylor Athletics. Our doctors specialize in the diagnosis and treatment of any and all sports-related injuries, celebrating over a decade of service in Central Texas. Our doctors are equipped to handle a wide range of issues, whether it's your foot or ankle, orthopedic spine care, your hand or wrist, knee and shoulder pain, or if you're in need of our arthritis or total joint clinic. Trust the doctors that Baylor trusts. Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics. Our goal is to get you back in the game.
This is SicEm365 Radio.
They go from the pistol. Duggan rolls, looking Rager's way, throws, and picked off. Braylon Arnold stepped right in front and made the pick for Baylor.
This segment on Baylor Athletics on SicEm365 Radio is brought to you by Richard Carr Buick GMC Cadillac, located at the Imperial Drive exit off Loop 340 in Waco. Proud supporters of all Baylor Athletics.
Grayson Grundhafer with us Fridays at 3:45. It's 3:51, a little bit late, but we got a lot to catch up with. First of all, Grayson's all over this with recruiting. Tell us a little bit about the grad transfer option or prospect and offensive lineman Jared Williams out of Houston.
Yeah, so I actually caught up with him over, I guess, a couple days ago, and he's really an interesting guy. So he played at Houston and started all 13 games in 2018. Then last year he suffered an injury after just playing in 4 games. So he's been recovering from the injury, but interesting enough, he actually did spring ball for a few weeks because Houston had a few weeks of spring ball before spring break, before the coronavirus happened. So he's feeling a lot better, went through spring ball with them, and then decided that he was going to go ahead and transfer and grad transfer out. And now he's kind of in the recruiting process, and it's been that way for a little over 2 weeks now for him. And he's mentioned quite a few schools that are kind of in the running, but Baylor's in a good spot. Joey McGuire coached him in high school, so that's a definite reason why there's a connection there. And 6'7", 305 pounds, and can play right tackle or left tackle at a position obviously Baylor has really struggled at. So he would be a huge get if Baylor's able to land him, and he should be making a decision in the next 10, 11 days because, of course, you got to get enrolled in classes and different things like that if you're going to be a grad student.
Grayson, a couple of new commits since we last talked to you. Roderick Daniels, the wide receiver out of Duncanville, and also Tate Williams, Wall offensive lineman, both committing since our last visit. Your thoughts on those two joining the class of 2021?
Yeah, so starting with Roderick, I guess, I mean, he's kind of one of those bigger names. And the reason I say that is because, he's got 20-plus offers from kind of all over the place, Arizona State, Colorado, Miami, Ole Miss, quite a few different schools. Very, very electric playmaker. Did it both in the receiving game and in the rushing game for Duncanville. Did a great job on jet sweeps and things like that, which, of course, Larry Fedora has really used in his offenses in the past with a guy like Ryan Switzer. And that's a guy that Roderick Daniels can kind of be like in the Baylor offense once he ends up at Baylor. And then Tate Williams is a really interesting one. I mean, 16 years old, technically should be in the 2022 class, but he's a 2021 kid. A ton of talent. The measurables are there, 6'4", 260, long arms. Just he's going to continue to grow. So he's one of those raw prospects that you get into the class and you go, man, this guy could be, one of the best players in the Big 12 by the time he's a redshirt junior.
Yeah, he was fun to listen to talk. He's the one that's a farmer, right? He's the one that was growing watermelons and probably picking up stacks of hay or whatever else. So, they just kind of building this thing methodically, right, Grayson? It just seemed like they're just methodically putting together even in these conditions, a nice class.
Yeah, definitely. And I mean, y'all have had me on every week since y'all started, and I don't want to swear by it. I'm pretty sure every single week there's at least been one commit. So they've really done a nice job of just steadily building this class, and it's been really, really fun to watch over the last 3-4 weeks. And now up to 12 commits. They're probably halfway done with this class, and they still haven't even finished 2020 yet, of course, with grad transfers and late additions. So plenty of work still to be done, but definitely a good starting point.
Well, Grayson, you mentioned the streak, so when you join us next week, what are the chances that we're talking about yet another new commit joining the fold?
I think the chances are pretty good. I kind of teased this, last week about a possible 2022 jumping aboard, and Kyan Roberts-Day went ahead and did that the next day, I believe. And so I'm pretty sure that there's probably going to be another one by the time that we talk again on Friday. I think it's only going to be one, but there's a chance that it could be two if one more goes Baylor's way.
Let me tell you something. You're doing a great job, Grayson. We appreciate you when you're on, and also all the time you're on at SicEm365.com. The Gray Area, which comes out of that Thursday, the podcast with Craig that you guys record that's very lengthy and also insightful. Thanks for your time. We appreciate it. Enjoy the weekend.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
Grayson Grundhaver, SicEm365. Craig, when is the podcast now?
It is recorded on Wednesday. No, we recorded. I think it drops Thursday afternoons.
Okay.
Thursday afternoons to Thursday evenings. It's had to get shuffled. I think we've done every day of the week now at this point. But yeah, it's typically on Thursdays. And for those who might be intrigued by Grayson's little tease there of another potential commit here over the next 24 hours to next few days, there's been a little talk, a little chatter online and whatnot, but SicEm365, you sign up for the premium side of things, and that's where you can find that information right now on who we're potentially talking about, what the chances are, who they're looking at outside of that, what positions are still, like all that kind of information. You can get a little bit of a heads up and more insight than anywhere else over on SicEm365.
When we come back, we're going to have former Rockets general manager, former Baylor player, former Baylor basketball head coach, from Alba, Texas, Carroll Dawson. And wait till you hear what he has to say about those 90s Bulls. And remember who interrupted that when Jordan was gone? He hates to hear that, but the Rockets and Olajuwon and company. He's next on SicEm365 Radio.
Are you in the market for a new home, or are you trying to sell the one you're in? If you're looking to upsize, downsize, whatever you're trying to do, you need someone in your corner that can guide you through anything you'll encounter. You also need a fantastic listener. That's where you need to call my friend Lance Donaldson and the Donaldson family team, brokered by eXp Realty, and let them be your go-to source as you search for that perfect home. Just give him a call, 254-214-3713, and he's going to listen to everything you need to have. Lance is an easy guy to talk to. He's going to hear everything that you have to say, take that in, and he's going to find you that perfect home. Again, 254-214-3713 or online, lancedonaldson.exprealty.com.
Waco, Texas, our city of remarkable growth and opportunity with an even brighter future ahead. What makes it all work is our people living, working, and growing together. And we're proud to be from here, helping and serving the community we call home. We are the First National Bank of Central Texas, taking great pride in being locally owned and operated. Come see us at any of our 5 convenient locations. That's the First National Bank of Central Texas, member FDIC, and equal housing lender.
Y'all listen up. Let me tell you something about group meals from Rudy's Barbecue. It's got all you need for all the folks you gotta feed, smoked meat, sides, and more. There's everything down to the tablecloth, just like the one that you see at the store. And a bridal shower, it's better than flowers. And a long distance meeting, it'll pass the hours. It'll feed all the cousins at a family function. It's better than potluck at a church luncheon. Next time you need to feed 10 or more, call and order a Rudy's Group meal.
Next in line.
Hi, this is Tyler Holcomb, Athletic Director and Head Football Coach at Bishop Louis Riker, and you're listening to SicEm365 Radio with David Smoke, Paul Catalina, and Craig Smoke.
This is Waco, and this is Boozer's Jewelers. When locals want luxurious jewelry and at a competitive price, they come here. This is Brad Boozer. He's the owner of Boozer's Jewelers. Boozer's is the premier wedding ring store. They specialize in loose diamonds and wedding rings. At Boozer's, they have 7 jewelry counters dedicated to wedding rings and diamonds only. They also specialize in heirloom jewelry, custom jewelry, watches, and much, much more. So what are you waiting for? Stop on in today and discover why the locals trust Boozer's for their jewelry.
Texas board-certified personal injury trial lawyer and Baylor alum David Willis and Baylor alum Parker Willis are ready to help if you or a loved one has been wrongfully injured in an auto accident, SUV rollover, industrial accident, 18-wheeler crash, or were seriously injured by a defective product or recalled drug. Call them for a confidential and free case consultation at 1-800-GOT-HURT or visit them at texastriallawyer.com, principal office in Houston, Texas.
At Ideal MRI, we feel blessed to be a part of the Waco community. We're a small family business right here in Central Texas. Our goal is to bring down the cost of healthcare while maintaining high quality. In today's world, the cost of healthcare has never been more important, and unfortunately, significant illnesses and injuries still occur. That's why Ideal MRI is open and here to serve you through the difficult time. We offer premium MRIs just like a hospital with state-of-the-art technology and specialists, but you'll pay less. Sometimes thousands of dollars less, whether you're using insurance or not. At Ideal MRI, we accept most insurance and there are no hidden costs. We even offer financing. Everything's included in the price, and more importantly, you'll not get a bill in the mail later on. So if you need an MRI, ask your doctor about Ideal MRI. You can schedule an appointment safely from home, online in minutes at idealmri.com, or give us a call, 833-IDEAL-MRI. And please remember to follow CDC guidelines and practice social distancing. Stay home, except for the essentials, and be safe, and together we'll get through this at idealmri.com.
It's been tough. Sitting in isolation, rarely getting out, neglected, unimportant, naked. Hi, this is Jay from Pickup Outfitters, and I'm talking about the forgotten casualty in this mess, your truck. It's been waiting patiently for you during this crisis, waiting for some sign that it's okay to get out again. At Pickup Outfitters, we believe that no truck should be left behind, and that it's time to reward your truck for sticking with you during these difficult times. So we're announcing the End Truck Nudity Stimulus Package. Benefits designed to outfit your truck so that it's ready to get out in public again, like free installation and a free rubber bed mat with every hard bed cover purchase, $250 off ranch hand bumpers installed, $300 off ARE camper shells, free laser fit front floor liners with every ranch hand grill guard purchase and install. And there's more. Call or come by our Pickup Outfitters showroom and help us make your truck feel wanted again. Or check out our End Truck Nudity Stimulus Package on our website, createacommotion.com/stimulus.
This is SicEm365 Radio.
Opening quarter, Elijah. Yes, and it counts.
The 4 o'clock hour is sponsored by Boozer's Jewelers, the wedding ring store, specializing in custom jewelry and repair, all in-house. Here's David Smoke, Paul Catalina, and Craig Smoke.
We had earlier in the day Steve Shanfield, who was a part of the Chicago Bulls for 28 years on The Last Dance. Will Perdue. Shanwald, Will Perdue, also Rick Tellender. And that's been great. And we'll hear a little bit from Carol Dawson on that as well. The Rockets had their great run in the 90s, and they've had a great run for quite some time. Carol Dawson from Alba, Texas, former Baylor basketball player and head coach, and then former general manager of the Houston Rockets on SicEm365 Radio. Carol, thank you. How in the world did you got away? You from Alba and Guy Lewis from Troop, so close together, both had an impact in basketball the way you did.
Well, it was a real big impact because I was happened to be a Baylor coach when Houston came into the league back in the 70s, and they were loaded. I mean, every year it was, fortunately, I got to coach some of the guys when I got to the Rockets because we got Drexler, a few of them, but facing them in those days was really hard.
Everybody, the big talk has been The Last Dance, and for a long time, the kind of corny sports debate is, well, had Jordan stayed, you guys don't win, but clearly through The Last Dance showed that he was burnt out when he left the first time, and that completely discounts the fact that you guys had built a team that was a juggernaut in and of itself.
Well, it's funny how that comes up 20 years later. How I'm running into everybody saying, Jordan, it's really kind of crazy. I mean, if you go back and look, I mean, I've never done it, but I know from sitting on the bench and going through those games that we handled the Bulls pretty. I think we in the 90s before he retired, we were 5-1 against them during the regular season. And I never did really. I just wanted to get to the finals. We couldn't get out of the West because it was so strong. We had to deal with the Lakers every year, and Portland and Seattle, and it was just Denver in those days were good, and Phoenix. It was just murder. And if you got through the West, the East didn't look too bad, but it was getting through the West. And Utah, I forgot them. We had murderous games with them every year when they had Malone and Stockton, and that was just a running battle every year. And it was just and I've run into that whole. I've been meaning to go back and after all these years because this keeps coming up, and I don't understand why. Because all you can do is play who's there. It's just having control over that. You just hope you get there. And, I'm fortunate enough in years I got to coach here, we got to the finals 4 times, and we lost twice to Boston, and we beat New York in 94, and then we beat Orlando in 95. So it was a great time, but I don't know. I think some of these guys sit around with nothing to do, and they come up with these things like, if Jordan hadn't retired, if Jordan Mikan hadn't gotten old, a lot of things had happened. But I don't get that so much. Whereas, if they had dominated us like, people talk like, but I think I shouldn't say this because I hadn't checked the record, but I just have a feeling in my mind of having played them all the years, whether it was in Chicago or here before he retired, we played them pretty well. We had Vernon Maxwell, and he just loved to get on Jordan. I mean, and they didn't have an answer really for Olajuwon at all, and we didn't have an answer for him. So it was a good game, but I think we did okay. I'd have to look it up.
Yeah, I remember seeing a stat, and I don't have it on me, unfortunately, Carol, but you guys had a very clear winning record against them during that time period. I mean, it was like 4-1 or 5-1.
I remember it. I don't know what it was, but I just I think Phil Jackson brought this up years later because never did, all through the 90s, never did hear it. And you got, after I retired in 2011, then I started hearing stuff like that all the time. There people bring that up. And I thought, well, that was 20 years ago. I mean, what are you talking about that now for? I mean, all you can do is play who's there. I mean, you don't have a choice. And it was like, it was hard enough to get. One of the things that people don't talk about that really kind of bothers me a little bit is the 94 series is only remembered for one thing, because in the third game, O.J. Simpson was loose on that Bronco, and it was split screen between us playing them up there in New York. And in fact, I remember sitting there on the bench, and Rudy and I couldn't figure out what was going on because the crowd noise wasn't in connection with the game. And we're looking at the game, and so we looked up at the big screen. It was split screen when the Bronco going down the highway with the cops chasing them, and then the other half of the screen was us playing the Knicks for the championship. And that crazy stuff like that. It was unbelievable. But this series doesn't get the credit it deserves because it was a low-scoring game. Both teams were defensive-oriented, and no team got to 100 in the 7 games we played. It was very, very even. And they had Ewing and we had Olajuwon. It was just 2 good teams. I mean, if anybody can remember that far back, John Starks in that 7th game was unbelievable. He had made like 17 straight shots, and he took the last 3-point shots with us up 2. And Olajuwon slipped out, and he got his little pinky on it and just barely tipped it. It fell short in Otis Thorpe's hands. I can still remember that like it was yesterday, and we had our first championship. But it was a great series by 2 good teams and 2 good defensive teams also.
Carroll, being part of championship teams and rosters, have you been watching The Last Dance? And if you have, what have you thought of what you've seen?
Yeah, I watched some of it. I have. It's kind of crazy. I mean, there's nothing to watch really. I mean, I'm used to watching baseball, basketball, football, and everything, you know, and now you get reruns, and so that's been a little bit of a, you know, but I just mainly I've been watching Forensic Files and the news. That's how I've watched it. Every once in a while, today I was watching a baseball game that was back in the 90s, and there's just not a whole lot on right now. So, you know, when you're my age, and I've gone through some health problems, I pretty much stayed in the house for the last 2 months. And it's got, when you have a heart attack, and I've got, you know, I had some kidney problems and heart problems also, and I'm just not going to take a chance. So my wife and I, who we get along well, so we just stay here in the house. She'll go out once a week and get groceries, and the rest of the time we just have fun around here, and we don't go out.
What did it mean to you that the Carroll Dawson, by the way, former Baylor player, head coach, also general manager of the Houston Rockets, what did it mean to you that the Naismith Hall of Fame this year had 3 people? Not that you also didn't know a lot about Kevin Garnett or Kobe or others, but Kim Mulkey.
Duncan.
yeah, Tim Duncan, yeah. Kim Mulkey, Rudy Tomjanovich, who coached the Rockets for so long and played there, and, of course, Eddie Sutton as well. That's a nice chunk that also represents a lot of what you also have seen and known over the years.
I was real happy and you know, I nominated Rudy in 2006. It took that long to get it. I was almost giving up because I spent a whole summer of 2005 and part of 2006. I got a whole group of just a big box. It took me and 2 assistants about 6 months to. I mean, if you go through Rudy's, you know, he was All-American in high school. He All-American at Michigan. He was a 5-time All-Star, and he was headed to big things until he took that lick out in Los Angeles. But then he came back and he was assistant coach with me. He was a scout first, and then he came on the bench in the early 90s with Don Chaney, became the head coach. And then we've been together forever. And then he goes on and leads the American team to gold medal in Australia in 2000, and he took another team over during to Europe, and when we were on a strike, and all he had was just you know, retreads kind of, and I think he placed in that one. So he had a great career as a player and as a coach, and then every year I'd look at all these guys go in who were deserving, but I'd stack his record up against theirs. I didn't understand it. And so I was calling, you know, I'd call up there, and one of our former guys that I used to work with for years, a sports guy, was up there, and I'd call him to see what was going on. And Coangelo was heading it all, and I knew him really well. And I'd talk to Jerry, and he, you know, I'd say, I just don't understand, you know. So, but anyway, he got in, and what a class that is. You'd have to go back a long way to find a class better than this one. I'm really excited for all of them, especially Eddie. I've tried to call Eddie 3 or 4 times over the last year, and the nurse they won't ever put him on the phone anymore. I don't know how good or how bad he is, but I did see him at a game in a wheelchair at Oklahoma State this last year. But I hadn't talked to him in quite a while because the nurse just tells me how he's doing, and I hadn't talked to him in a while. But that is a great class, and I'm thrilled for Rudy because, you know, people don't realize what a career he was heading for until he took that blow, and it was then he had another great career coaching after that. So really happy for him and for Kim. Nobody's done a better job than Kim. I mean, Sharon went to Baylor also, my wife, and we have season tickets to all the football games and basketball games. We've watched 2 or 3 cars going from Houston to Waco to watch the games. I'm still Baylor all the way through.
Carol, what was the X factor for you guys becoming that team that won the finals and got out of the Western Conference in 94 and 95?
Well, we had a situation where we had a center that nobody could guard. Just nobody could guard.
Yeah.
And so then LA came in with this rotating defense in the late 80s. And they would double team from the top, and they'd rotate one guy to the weak side and guard the strong side. And so he was getting double teamed every way in the world. So we finally figured out if we got 4 guys out there that could shoot the ball from the 3-point line, it would be hard to double him every time. And so we got Vernon Maxwell first, and we got Kenny Smith, then we got Mario Ellie, then we got Robert Ory, then we got Matt Bullard, and just about everybody we put out there with Olajuwon, except Otis Thorpe, and he was playing on the post, so they couldn't leave him either, would have to be guarded at the line. And when they would drop back on Olajuwon, he got to where he was great at kicking the ball out, and we started making 3-point shots, and we kind of took off. And if you remember the Orlando series where we were down 24 points in the first half, and then Kenny Smith got hot, and I think he set the record at the time. He made 7 threes in a playoff game. That was 94, and that set the record for most threes. But everybody we put out there, from Ellie to Ori to Kenny Smith to Vernon Maxwell, could make a 3-point shot. That spread the court, and it let Olajuwon get a little bit loose. It was really harder to double team him after that, and I thought that was the key. You know, we weren't noted as a 3-point shooting team like they are today, because now nobody has a center anymore. I watch the games; they're all 3-point shooters. It's just a different game. But in those days, everybody had a center, and you know, and the 3-point shot came in their first year in '79. I think Phil. The Boston kid, I can't remember his name, made the first shot because they just played the first game that when it came in '79. But the 3-point shot was growing and growing and growing, and so by the time '94 got here, we had a whole group of people that could shoot the ball that we could put on the floor of Olajuwon, where they really had a decision whether to leave him and double him or not because of the shooters we could put out there. And that was one of the big things, because having Olajuwon all through the 80s, I mean, he was running over the league. Mm-hmm. But that rotating defense put a little bit of a pause in, but we figured it out.
Carol, go ahead, Craig.
No, I was just going to ask you, Carol, as far as Hakeem goes, clearly one of the greatest of all time. Nobody will debate that. But just being around him, seeing him on a day-to-day basis, on and off the court, just how big of a star was Hakeem, and what kind of a person was he to be around?
He was. He had a big change in his life when he got religion. He was always getting in a little trouble and getting thrown out of games and getting on officials and everything. But when he became religious, he never got another technical or another crossword was said. I mean, he was the most dedicated person you never see, and he never got in trouble after that. But I mean, he was in altercations all the time because he was always. But he just concentrated on basketball, and he was easy to coach after that. I mean, he was just I couldn't wait to get to the gym because I was the big man coach at that time. And I've been fortunate all the years that I was with the Rockets, which, believe it or not, I was 30-something. I flew them longer than anybody. But we had, when I got here, we had Moses Malone. Then we got Ralph Sampson. Then we got Elijah Wan. And then we got Joe Barry Carroll. And then we had Yao Ming. So we've kind of been a team of centers. If you look at us in L.A., because Jabbar and Wilt and Shaq, they've had great ones too. But we've had pretty good centers, and we've kind of looked at it as a center team. So it was always kind of easy with Elijah Wan's moves, and when he got the jump hook and his footwork was, people don't realize it. Him being 6'11", the fastest guy we had at the time was Robert Reed. He was about 6'8", and he was cut like a sprinter. He was all legs, and he could just eat up the floor like you couldn't believe. So I remember one day, he got tired of Robert getting on him, so Elijah took off, and he won the race. I mean, if you put the team out there, we go down and back. Well, Robert would be crossing the end line when everybody else was on their third leg going down near the end. But Elijah could just fly. I've still got this game where we were playing Portland. No, it was Phoenix. And he's the furthest man from their end of the floor on the other end of the bucket. And they make a steal, and he's wide open, the little guard. Is all by himself, and you don't see anybody on the floor in the table. And all of a sudden, this blur comes out right, and he lays it up and just knocked it up in the 30th row. And Elijah came from the farthest on the court and caught him and blocked the shot at the bucket. And I could go on with him. I mean, one time he got a quadruple double, first one we'd ever seen, and so we were all celebrating. And I got him to sign the scorecard, and I framed it and put it up in my office. And then about days later, somebody made some kind of a question, and so the league went back and looked at it, and they decided one of his assists wasn't really a pass. He had fumbled the ball to the guy and picked it up, and made a layup, and so that only gave him 9 assists. So it took the quadruple double away, and so I was just upset as I could be, and so I took the picture down of the deal that had framed, and so I go in and I said, "Look, I'm gonna keep this in my drawer." And he said, "Don't, CD, I'll get another one." And 3 games later, which is unbelievable, he got another quadruple double, and I mean that's double figures in rebounds, double figures in points, double figures in blocks, and double figures in assists.
Amazing,
and that is hard to do. And he did it. He did it 3 games later, and I've still got that. I can't even sign that one. I kept it.
Carol, I got one more question that might get one of the partners of our website, SicEm365, in trouble. Do you, and this is a random question, do you own a home in Estes Park?
No.
Okay. He went to go watch Colorado Baylor football back in 2010, and he stayed at a house or somewhere up at Estes Park, and they have this downstairs room that's like everything Houston Rockets. Like it's almost like a little basketball type court. And he always thought that it was something he, for some reason, thought you might have owned it. And he wanted me to, I don't know if he wanted me to ask you that, because he had a friend of his that was there at the game, and they were playing in downstairs, and there's a 300-pound guy named Donald Baker who accidentally ran into the wall and left a hole in the wall. I think
sounds like they were having fun.
Yeah, they were having a great time. And I was curious if that was yours.
Thankfully, it's not CD's house.
I mean, no, yeah. I was going to have to he was going to make him send you a check for the hole that was never, I don't know if it was ever fixed or not. Okay, that was random. Hey, thanks for your time. Take care of yourself, man, CD. We appreciate you so much.
All right, it's always good to be with you guys. Thanks for calling.
Carol Dawson, former Baylor player, head coach, general manager for the championship Rockets, and for many years before and after that as well.
Yeah, and that's one of those, too, where he's obviously got a lot of stories. I mean, we didn't even scrape, his time at Baylor, and we could easily have gone straight Bulls versus Rockets talk with him if we had wanted to as well. But I think we were able to get a lot out of that, and good to hear from him. And I know now that when I'm occasionally watching Forensic Files that Carol Dawson is as well. Both fans of that show. And, yeah, that's cool. So great to have him on.
When we come back, Randy Cross, 13 years with the 49ers, three-time part of Super Bowl championship teams. He was really good. He was all-pro, long-time Pro Bowler as well. He's now and has been, I think, almost 30 years, a voice of CBS Sports when it comes to both football, college football, and also the NFL. This is SicEm365 Radio. I don't remember the exact day when things got shut down at Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness. I believe it was March the 25th. But since that time, and of course, they're about to reopen on Monday. That's this coming Monday, where classes will begin again in the morning at Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness. But from that point, on the day that things were shut down, Christy London, who's been my personal trainer since March of 2013, found a way at Cameron Park at Lover's Leap to have a core of about 35 to 40 people, mostly every single day, go through boot camps and other exercise classes. She has now been named the operations manager at Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness. And they open up with new ideas and a new vision and also new classes that will be posted on their Facebook page. A core of 40 people who every single day, early in the morning, sometimes at 5 or 6 or maybe even at 8, were going through various boot camp classes and much more. Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness is where you can change your life because of the people that run Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness, and the tennis facilities with Britt Coleman, the pro, amazing as well. Randall Corley also, one of the personal trainers, and there will be more. Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness has not really been able to do anything for almost 2 months. It opens up again on Monday, and it can change your life on Lake Shore Drive in Waco. One size fits all. That may be all right for an adjustable belt or cheap sunglasses, but when it comes to your financial needs, no one wants a one-size-fits-all strategy. Ben Erlinson, your Edward Jones financial advisor, knows that his most important goals are yours. That's why he takes the time to understand your needs, knowing you. That's how Edward Jones makes sense of investing. Ben Erlinson, 100 North 6th Street in Waco, 254-759-8533. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
Let Camille Johnson Realtors guide you seamlessly through the process of buying your dream home or selling your current one, commercial, farm and ranch, or residential. Camille Johnson Realtors can smoothly and successfully lead you through any transaction with a team of 24 experienced agents who are excited about serving you. Camille Johnson Realtors services the entire greater Waco area. If you're in the market to buy or sell, contact Camille Johnson Realtors, 104 Midway Center in Woodway, or find them online at www.camillejohnson.com. Camille Johnson Realtors, elegant, charming, warm. Welcome home.
At Ideal MRI, we feel blessed to be a part of the Waco community. We're a small family business here in Central Texas. At times like these, the cost of healthcare has never been more important. And unfortunately, significant illness and injuries still occur. That's why Ideal MRI is open and here to serve you through this difficult time. If you need an MRI, ask your doctor about Ideal MRI. You can schedule online in minutes at idealmri.com or call 833-IDEAL-MRI. And please, remember to follow CDC guidelines and practice social distancing. Stay home, except for the essentials, and be safe. Together, we'll get through this.
Dr. Kent Petty wants you to be the highest performance man you want to be. Are you sluggish, lack energy? Do you suffer from low sex drive? Petty Clinic Low T offers discounted comprehensive lab work to check on your various levels that can make a difference. It's not only time for you to be the man you want to be with higher energy and stamina and improved sex drive, but also the healthiest and high performance man. Screening for cardiac heart disease risk, EKG, cholesterol panel, blood pressure monitoring, testosterone or growth hormone deficiency, male infertility, hepatitis C, and prostate cancer screening. Petty Clinic Low T offers replacement therapy for testosterone or growth hormones, weight management therapy, and nutritional advice. It's not only time for you to be the man you want to be with higher energy, stamina, and improved sex drive, but the healthiest and highest performance man. PettyClinicLowT.com, PettyClinicLowT.com on Old Hewitt Road, just off Highway 84 in Woodward. PettyClinicLowT.com. You want to know why Stonewood Dental is so successful? Listen to what happy customers have to say.
It's pleasant. It's different than any other dentist office. I really feel like they care. And it's not that you're here for 2 hours waiting on someone to take care of you. It's quick and easy, and I bring my kids, and my kids love being here too. They really love the treasure box. Staff is really nice and accommodating, real friendly. You feel more like home. It's not sterile looking. Everybody has their own personalized rooms with decorations and decor, and they'll even have a blanket for you when it's cold. I've recommended people to actually come here, and they are patients now. I really love it here. It feels like family.
Learn more, stonewood-dental.com.
It's been tough. Sitting in isolation, rarely getting out, neglected, unimportant, naked. Hi, this is Jay from Pickup Outfitters, and I'm talking about the forgotten casualty in this mess, your truck. It's been waiting patiently for you during this crisis, waiting for some sign that it's okay to get out again. At Pickup Outfitters, we believe that no truck should be left behind, and that it's time to reward your truck for sticking with you during these difficult times. So we're announcing the End Truck Nudity Stimulus Package. Benefits designed to outfit your truck so that it's ready to get out in public again. All toolboxes $25 off plus free install. All RKI heavy-duty toolboxes $75 off plus free install. All receiver hitches get a free ball mount. All gooseneck and fifth wheel hitches receive a free plug in the bed with install. $300 off ARE camper shells. Call or come by our Pickup Outfitters showroom and help us make your truck feel wanted again. Or check out our End Truck Nudity Stimulus Package on our website, createacommotion.com/stimulus.
This is SicEm365 Radio.
Going back to pass on 3rd and 10 Montana. Looks over the left side. Caught by Craig on the way to the end zone. And Craig goes in for the score.
Came to see an offense and the wrong one showed up.
Man, the 49ers, they had their run, and what a run it was, and Randy Ross was a part of a lot of it. 13 years with the 49ers, 3 Super Bowl championships, and has been a part of the NFL and college football at CBS broadcasting since 1989. Has a podcast that returns on Monday, randycross.com, across like we are with this show, all the numerous platforms you could imagine. Randy, good afternoon. Thank you so much. How was it like? What was it like? And you were a part of it as well. Part of a team where the best players were the core, but also perhaps the hardest working players too.
Yeah, it was pretty special. We had an awful lot of really, really good players, but we didn't have very many at all that sort of didn't work. And, the guys that were, ultimately were the best, whether it was Joe or Jerry or Roger or whoever, Ronnie, were also the guys that were out in front. I mean, led every sprint, led every drill, led everything. So, yeah, it was part of a culture that Bill built. It took him a few years, but once it was established, it started paying off like a crooked slot machine.
Understandably, you have some bias here because you played with him, but in the greatest of all time quarterback debate, where do you put Joe Montana now with Tom Brady and all that, now that Brady's won 6 and you guys had your 4 and all that?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I'm always kind of big on the zero thing when it comes to like rankings and whether it's teams or whatnot. If you put up the 0, it's kind of hard to counteract that. If you're 12-0 in football, you're just going to be a higher ranked team than one that's 11-1 or 10-2. And I love Brady 6-3. I think that's great. But Joe was 4-0, never threw an interception. And honestly, my criteria for those of you that are old enough to remember is, if your job and or life depended on, making a touchdown and you've got like a minute left and you have one timeout and you got to go 80 yards, who do you want at quarterback? And for me, it has been and shall always continue to be Joe in that category. I just went through too many things with him in too many situations like that.
he had the great win. There were obviously dozens of them, but the first Super Bowl, what a lot of people don't realize, you destroyed San Diego. But the ones with the Bengals, those games were tough, weren't they? Those championship games.
Oh yeah. Well, I mean, the first one in Pontiac, Michigan, we were up like 20-0 at halftime, and had kind of a letdown. They came back, and then we had to have a goal line stand, and we drove the ball and kind of killed the clock on them, and added another field goal late. So we ended up winning that. But the second one, they returned a kick for a touchdown. We were down, I think by 3 points, and had almost the length of the field to go, and to at least get a field goal to tie it and to go in overtime, which had never happened in the Super Bowl. But yeah, they were both pretty tight. But my last game, that Super Bowl 23, that one was pretty special.
You mentioned Bill Walsh earlier, and obviously he's one of the most innovative coaches in the history of the NFL or football in general. Did you know at the time that this was innovative or different, or is it something you, after you kind of were in it for a while, that you're like, man, nobody else is doing this?
No, as an offensive player, we knew immediately. Of course, we'd been so bad, it was kind of hard not to have a good point of reference when you get to do something that actually works. But it wasn't until we got a defense that things kind of came together. But what's funny about Bill is his amount of innovation and what he did to sort of trailblaze in the game. Yeah, a lot of it was on the field, but a lot of it was off the field. And I was reminded of that today with that ludicrous thing the NFL wants to do about improving draft positions. Mm-hmm. If you hire a minority coach or a minority front office guy, I mean, Bill had the original program for coaches that wanted to get in, that were, predominantly at that time, the black coaches that wanted to get into the business. Bill had them, and they'd come in and they'd be with us all during training camp. I mean, he started that program for the league. And it just sort of reminded me when I saw that today, I went, you know what? They really haven't learned that much, have they?
No, Randy, they really haven't. I mean, they tried the Rooney Rule, and then what you ran into was teams would just, interview an assistant with no real intent whatsoever to hire the guy, but it's just like, hey, we have to check off this box of having interviewed a minority candidate, and that didn't obviously work. So now they're trying this potentially. I guess there's no real solution yet that they've come up with.
Well, yeah, it's the best guy you hire.
Right.
And not everybody is into that. Not everybody, recognizes that for some stupid reason here in 2020. Mm-hmm. You have a team like, I tell you, the great example is the Raiders. Al Davis didn't care if you were a 3-foot-tall, purple woman from Mars. If he thought he was going to win and if he thought you were good, he was going to hire you. And I mean, he had a CEO in Amy Trask that was a woman. He had Art Shell. He had Tom Flores. You go down the list with him. He was a guy that was really innovative, whether in the front office or the hiring on the staffs. And sadly, for all the sort of posing, that really hasn't been the case, and it's too bad.
Yeah, that's it is unfortunate. We have Tom Flores, by the way, set up to be a part of our show. It's interesting you mentioned him. Next Tuesday, former 2-time Super Bowl champion with the Raiders. How good was the offensive line? You guys had a bunch of guys that were together. You were there for 13 years, I think I mentioned at the top.
Right.
You guys stayed together. Obviously, you said you started playing better defense, which you did, but the offensive linemen with the 49ers in Walsh's system, was it athleticism? What was the key there? What did you guys have to have?
Well, you had to be able to move. You had to be able to run, because he loved doing, play action, but he loved also sweeps and counters and traps. And I mean, especially if you were a guard, you had to be able to run. So if you could do that, you could play for him. That was important. Athleticism was important. Being very mentally flexible, I guess would be a good term for it, because stuff changed on the fly. I can't tell you how many times, the signal come in from the sideline, you'd see Joe just laughing. And he'd look at all of us and go, okay, you're not going to believe this, because I don't know if we might have done it in training camp, might have been last year sometime. But here's the play. and he'd do that, and he fully expected to execute it like no problem. He knew most of us, would be able to, so that's why he did that. But yeah, those lines were. Bob McKittrick, our offensive line coach, was one of the best that's ever done it. Very, very meticulous when it came to technique, and taught that really, really well, which unfortunately is also kind of a lost art when it comes to the line of scrimmage. There are a lot of good guys doing it now, both at college and the pro level. But that's something back then that was very, very different. And he also was a guy that caused a lot of rule changes, because he looked at the rule book and he said, okay, what's in here? And when I say what's in here, where's the gray area? What can you do that it isn't illegal? It's just going to kind of probably torque somebody off pretty good. But let's see what it is. And if it's allowable, we're going to do it. And that's a lot of things that we did, whether it was backside cut blocks or backside clips, or, there's a laundry list of things that people hated us for. But, we never did anything that was at that time against the rules. But, man, we'd make them search those rule books, because we'd find those little gray open areas.
The Last Dance has been, this, kind of national phenomenon about the Bulls, and kind of made people look back at dynasties. We read a story yesterday on the air about the 90s Cowboys and how, hard they ran off the field too, and some of the crazy things that they did. What was the vibe of your team in the 80s? It seems like you guys were more, at least from my perspective, as someone who just watched it from the outside, of a more kind of an all-business organization because of Bill Walsh.
That was the image because of Bill. We had more fun than allowed by law the first time we won a Super Bowl. I mean, that's why the next year during the strike we were like 3-6. There were approximately a dozen guys that were on the team and with us for the parade in San Francisco, the day after the Super Bowl, that weren't even on the team at minicamp because they just lost their minds. I mean, guys went crazy. And back in the early 80s, there were a lot of various ways to party and go crazy, and a lot of guys found those. But if you wanted to stick around, you had to kind of adapt. And I haven't seen any of the Last Dance. I got to be honest. I haven't. I'm too much of I grew up in L.A. I'm a Laker guy.
Oh, yeah.
I'm a Showtime guy, and if defaulting off the Showtime guys, I'll go with Elgin Baylor and Wilt Chamberlain and those guys. So. Yeah.
That's because that's because of our age. Elgin Baylor was one of the great players back in the days with Oscar Robertson in the NBA and many others. Randy, we got to move on, but I guess my last thing is that you are doing some stuff with the NFL. They're replaying some of the greatest games, and you're a part of some of that as well. What was it like to be a world champion? What did that mean to you?
It's fleeting fulfillment. It's for that night and shortly thereafter. It's just huge satisfaction that everything you worked for has come true. And then not long after you do it, the reality kind of crashes down that, well, that's over. And if you don't get your button gear, you're not going to have any kind of a chance to do it again if you just enjoy it too much. Like I said, we enjoyed it too much after the first one. And after that, we sort of learned our lesson and ground down on it pretty good. But being a champ is the best feeling there is.
Thank you very much, Randy. Randy Cross, since 1989. Soon after he retired, a part of CBS Radio, it's CBS Sports with both college football and the NFL. 3-time Super Bowl champion, 13 years with the San Francisco 49ers. When we come back, we have blood coming up next on the show. Philip Epps played at TCU, played in the NFL from Atlanta High School. Deontay, of course, is one of our producers of SicEm365 Radio. Philip Epps will join us at 5 o'clock. Sam Bradshaw, S11 on SicEm365.com on the Larry Fedora offensive series he's done. And then Wade Phillips, 5:30, SicEm365 Radio. PettyClinicLowT.com, PettyClinicLowT.com. Located on Old Hewitt Road. Also, you can, of course, get online, schedule an appointment, or just contact Dr. Kent Petty and his staff because perhaps some of these things are not right. They're not good for you. One, you're lethargic, you're listless, you don't know why. There's a lot of things that could lead to that, including sleep or lack of it. And, of course, even your diet and exercise. But let's just say you feel like you're doing most of that, and so something else isn't right. Well, hopefully you're not sick. But one thing you can find out if you're a man, no matter what age you're, I'm too young for that, is your testosterone level might be too low. Dr. Kent Petty can schedule you to give blood, to have blood work done, look at your results, and if your testosterone levels are too low, he can put you in a program to raise them to be where they need to be. A certain number for basically whatever age you might be. You may say, again, I'm too young for that problem. Nope, you might not be. Testosterone that's low can lead to being lethargic, being listless, and also affect your sex drive. It can affect your stamina. It can affect all of that. Get your blood work at a discounted rate. Dr. Petty will help set you up for that. Let him look at your results, and if you need testosterone to be boosted, along with everything else, he can put you in a program. PettyClinicLowT.com, PettyClinicLowT.com.
The biggest, toughest, hardest-working heavy-duty trucks are on sale at Allen Samuels. Now, get employee pricing for all on new Ram heavy duties and no payments for 90 days. These unprecedented incentives won't last long. HDs for farm and ranch, for business and all commercial operations. Ram Heavy Duties, the Motor Trend Truck of the Year. Drive forward with Ram. From your friend in the car business, Allen Samuels.
Ask for details. All offers with approved credit.
Our communities are facing unprecedented times. At Boozer's Jewelers, we care about you and your family. If you're like me, your home has unwanted or unused jewelry lying around. They can have value, and that means we can turn that jewelry into instant cash. This is a great way to get the most value from your unwanted jewelry. At Boozer's Jewelers, we buy all kinds of unused jewelry. So give us a call and let us give you peace of mind and cash for your unwanted or unused jewelry.
Do you love Friday Night Lights? Would you like to have a bigger role than just watching the action to ensure the games are played fairly and safely? The Waco football chapter of the Texas Association of Sports Officials, or TASO, can make that happen. The 2020 Texas high school football season is right around the corner, and we need you to be a part of it. There's a shortage of officials across the state in all sports, and you can help. If you love the game and want to be a part of the solution, you can help our local student athletes continue to participate in games they love. Never officiated before? Don't worry. Waco Football Chapter can help you and prepare you to make the right call. And right now, Introduction to Football Officiating class is accepting registrations. Make your first grade call today by looking us up and contacting us on Facebook at Waco Football Chapter or at our website, wacofootballchapter.com. Find out more about the Waco Football Chapter of the Texas Association of Sports Officials, or TASO. Go to wacofootballchapter.com.
Texas board-certified personal injury trial lawyer and Baylor alum David Willis and Baylor alum Parker Willis are ready to help if you or a loved one has been wrongfully injured in an auto accident, SUV rollover, industrial accident, 18-wheeler crash, or were seriously injured by a defective product or recalled drug. Call them for a confidential and free case consultation at 1-800-GOT-HURT or visit them at texastriallawyer.com, principal office in Houston, Texas.
I hate my job, but I don't mind getting up in the morning. I dread each day, but I can't wait to get out of bed. You ask me why, and what I'll say to you is true. Well, you can get breakfast tacos at Rudy's Barbecue. Scrambled eggs and brisket, they ain't fooling around. Sausage wrap, son, they're the best in town. Barbecue for breakfast, yes, it's true. Put a smile on your morning at Rudy's Barbecue.
Next in line.
SicEm365 Radio is presented by IdealMRI.com. Ideal MRI is a small family business right here in Central Texas. We're open to support our community through this crisis. When you need an MRI, ask your doctor for an Ideal MRI. Visit us at IdealMRI.com or call us at 833-IDEAL-MRI.
Waco, Texas, a place with its own unique history and a future bright with promise, full of remarkable growth and opportunity, and what makes it all work is its people, families, raising children, growing businesses. Wacoans are hardworking with a passion for what's next, and we're proud to be from here, helping Waco to grow and prosper. We are the First National Bank of Central Texas, familiar faces making local decisions. Member FDIC, an equal housing lender.
This is SicEm365 Radio. The SicEm365 Radio text line is sponsored by Riverbend Liquor and Wine, with the most extensive variety of craft beer in Waco. A hidden gem on Lakeshore Drive and 19th Street.
We continue SicEm365 Radio. Paul Catalina, Craig Smoke. I'm David Smoke. And Deontay Epps, of course, is with us as well. And we're now joined by his uncle, Philip Epps, on SicEm365 Radio. Played at TCU, played for a long chunk of his career, 82 to 88 with the Packers, 1 year with the Jets. And he joins us on SicEm365 Radio. So, Philip, what can you tell us about Deontay?
Well, I can tell you that he's a very smart young man, very well educated, and excited about his new opportunity.
Well, he's been great so far. All right, so your era of the NFL to me is one of the most fascinating ones in the 80s, because you were the era that kind of was the bridge between what it was and then what it is now. Did you feel it growing when you were in the league? Did you see the league starting to really explode while you were in it?
Oh yeah, you could tell it was going to be better for the young men after our years. It was just everything with TV, everything with rights and everything with the owners were doing. It was just the league was headed to a whole new era.
Philip, first of all, I want to say hello to a fellow East Texas guy. I'm from Tyler, you being from Atlanta, but I want you to know that you've got kind of something special about your appearance, because I don't know that we've had a TCU guy on SicEm365 Radio. So I don't know what our listeners are going to be thinking here right now. Were you at all hesitant to join us because of the rivalry?
Well, hey, in my era when we played, it was a great rivalry. We a lot of guys off those Baylor teams and a few guys off our TCU team got an opportunity at the next level. So it was always a well-played game. Exciting time.
Yeah, it was. And I got to say this because Craig was born in Nacogdoches.
Yeah.
And I covered East Texas football from 81 until about almost 2009 and still do a lot even now. I have a high school website. However, the 2003 Atlanta Rabbits, one of the fastest high school football teams I've ever seen. In fact, they beat a local team, Marlin, for the state championship in Tyler. What is it about walking into the high school at Atlanta that you have to be, or you immediately have amazing speed?
I don't know what it is now, but then it was exciting times. Like I said, it was, and the kids now and in that era there they were amazing. From what I read about them, I didn't get to see them play that often, but from what I read, I mean, golly, when you have 2 or 3 guys, sometimes 4 or 5 guys on that team, those guys were exciting to watch and hear about.
Yeah, they were. Was Jerry Bomar? No, he was the coach after you left, right?
Yeah, he was. I think he was way after I left. I can't remember who was the next coach after I left, but
Jack Coleman.
Jack Coleman was the coach when I was there.
Yeah,
my last few years.
But he was a great guy, man. Great man. Exciting coach, and learned a lot from him, just by being around him.
So Deontay's
of course,
with.
he had the great Billy Sims. He coached the great Billy Sims too. I don't know
Mm-hmm.
if you guys knew that. So.
When he was at Hooks?
Yeah. He coached Billy Sims.
So you are world-class speed when you were in high school and also college, and obviously with the Packers in the NFL. So did you ever do the NFL's fastest man contest? Who were the guys you ran up against? Because I know for a long time Darrell Green ran that event.
Yeah, I ran against him. I still have some questions on whether I won the race. I don't know. They gave the race to him, but it was an exciting race, and they had to go to the photo. The photo to determine a winner. And I don't think anybody else came close to beat him at all. But Darrell was, you knew what to expect when he came. You knew he had to be in shape and ready to run. But that's the way I felt also. And we both were track guys, so any event I entered, I wanted to win. And man, it still leaves a bad taste in my mouth today when people say he won it all those years. Yeah, he did win it, but I think I won it. I think I beat him that year. So.
I'm gonna have to go back and watch the video on this and see if I can't get. Yeah, can't get.
Go watch the tape if you can find it. I can't find it.
Darrell Green's got the only copy, I think.
Yeah, I think he does.
What were those events like? Because they don't really do that anymore. They've tried to kind of do that, but that was a cool event I remember growing up, and for whatever reason, it just doesn't happen or work anymore. But what was it like to be a part of something like that?
I don't know. It was to be a part of it, man, was exciting because you were selected by not only your head coach, but it was your whole United States media got certain guys from certain areas got to select a guy who they thought would be able to compete, and it was exciting, man. It was really exciting because, of course, we athletes, we like to brag, man. We wanted to go back to our team saying, "Hey, I'm the fastest guy in the league." I always thought that, and now I know it. So, exciting times. So.
Hey, Unc, it's your nephew here. When I got you to agree to be a guest, I immediately texted the guys in the chat, and I sent them this link of the Football Follies video from YouTube from back in the day. And I remember like my first, because obviously I wasn't born when you're in the league, but the first thing the first clip that I saw was this certain Football Follies play. And for those that don't know, it's a group of clips that they used to put together of different wacky stuff that happened in the NFL. Can you kind of talk about what this particular clip of you was?
Well, I think if I remember the game was Minnesota, I'm not sure, but I think it was the Minnesota Vikings. And it's something that just happened. I think it was a third down or something, and my number was called, man, and Lynn Dickey, who was a quarterback at the time, threw it, and I felt that I had the guy beat all along, and I had to kind of wait on the ball just a little bit, slightly, and I'm always a guy that I work on sidelines and knowing where I am, and particularly on the sideline. When you get close to going out of bounds, I'm well aware of, where I am at most of the time. And man, I caught the ball and looked up, and I was full steam ahead, and just my momentum kind of led me toward the sideline. So the only thing I could do, and it hit me in my mind at the last minute, say, "Well, dude, just how?" just how. So I'm about 25 yards out from the end zone, and man, I think I went 15 to 20 yards on one leg. So that kind of stands out as one of the follies of that particular era. So, man,
is that
I read a lot of stuff about it.
Yeah. That's not a folly, though. I mean, that's unbelievable to do that.
But if you look at it, you could easily put it on a folly tape.
Yeah.
Just put some yakety sacks.
It's funny, yeah.
Did it count as a catch because you have to get 2 feet down? Okay,
but it wasn't a score.
Okay.
The referee said I didn't score.
Oh.
We didn't have instant replay then. I felt like I scored, but hey, it was pretty close.
Man.
I look at it when you go and look back at it. It's inches from the sideline. I mean inches. So you could without instant replay, you could easily say, okay, your foot hit the line. So then I think they spotted it out on about the 5 yard.
5-yard line.
Philip Epps, TCU, Atlanta High School, also with the Packers and then Jets with us. Deontay, one of our producers of SicEm365 Radio. I know that you've had to overcome some things. How are you doing? Are you feeling okay during all this time right now?
Oh yeah, my health has been good. God's been good. Cancer survivor now. I guess about a year and a half or so. Had some other issues, but hey, I am blessed to be here and to see my kids grow up and have a loving wife and family, and so I'm excited. These are exciting times.
Thank you.
Waiting and to get ready for some football if we have it, but who knows?
Hopefully at some point. Thank you, Philip. Appreciate it. Deontay, say goodbye to your uncle.
All right, Uncle. I'm going to call you later. Thank you for coming.
Nephew, okay.
Yes,
Great
sir.
to have you on. That's Philip Epps, Atlanta
you,
High School, TCU, Packers, Jets. Nice, almost a decade in the NFL. This is SicEm365 Radio. Crawfish is back. The 30-pound bags of live crawfish, as delicious as you can imagine, back at Waco Custom Marketplace at 425 Lake Air Drive in Waco. $3 a pound, 30-pound live crawfish bags are available. You order by Thursday at noon. You can pick up your customized order anytime on Friday afternoon until 6 p.m. And the drive-thru now open at Waco Custom Marketplace Monday through Friday from 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. You can still order what you want from their butcher shop, including beef and poultry, seafood, and also pork. And, of course, their bakery. You can order from their bakery. You can go online, WacoCustomMarketplace.com, or go by the drive-thru. Waco Custom Marketplace, live crawfish available Monday through Friday, 10 a.m. to 6.
The 4 o'clock hour is sponsored by Boozer's Jewelers, the wedding ring store, specializing in custom jewelry and repair, all in-house.
Hey, this is Bryce Petty, former starting quarterback and two-time Big 12 champion, and I know firsthand the importance of being in top shape both on and off the field. So listen up, men. If you're feeling beat down day in and day out and looking for that high-performance edge that separates the men from the boys, then look no further than the Petty Clinic Low T in Waco. Petty Clinic is a comprehensive men's healthcare clinic with an atmosphere catering to men. Board-certified Dr. Kent Petty has a special interest in offering the highest quality medical care to men of all ages. Some of the services offered include screening and treatment for low testosterone or thyroid, infertility, high blood pressure, diabetes, high cholesterol, sleep apnea, while offering comprehensive wellness exams and complete men's health lab panels. High performance men, remember, it's not just a Petty thing. This is Bryce Petty, encouraging you to reach out and Google search Petty Clinic Low T or go to pettycliniclowt.com and get your complimentary lab screening today.
Ideal MRI is a small family business right here in Central Texas. We are open to support our community through this crisis. When you need an MRI, ask your doctor for an Ideal MRI. Visit us at idealmri.com or call us at 833-IDEAL-MRI.
Texas Board Certified Personal Injury Trial Lawyer and Baylor alum David Willis and Baylor alum Parker Willis are ready to help if you or a loved one has been wrongfully injured in an auto accident, SUV rollover, industrial accident, 18-wheeler crash, or were seriously injured by a defective product or recall drug. Call them for a confidential and free case consultation at 1-800-GOT-HURT or visit them at texastriallawyer.com. Principal office located in Houston, Texas.
You want to know why Stonewood Dental is so successful? Listen to what happy customers have to say.
It's pleasant. It's different than any other dentist office. I really feel like they care. And it's not that you're here for 2 hours waiting on someone to take care of you. It's quick and easy, and I bring my kids, and my kids love being here too. They really love the treasure box. Staff is really nice and accommodating, real friendly. You feel more like home. It's not sterile looking. Everybody has their own personalized rooms with decorations and decor, and they'll even have a blanket for you when it's cold. I've recommended people to actually come here, and they are patients now. I really love it here. It feels like family.
Learn more, stonewood-dental.com.
This is SicEm365 Radio.
Brewer in trouble again.
Wow, did you see that
move? There he goes. He's got a first down and more.
The 5 o'clock hour is sponsored by Edward Jones Investments with financial advisor Brad Wilson. Investing his time and experience back to you and your money during today's changing times. Edward Jones, making sense of investing. Here's David Smoke, Paul Catalina, and Craig Smoke.
So we've gone back to someone who worked with the Bulls for 28 years and looked back at the Jordan years in The Last Dance. Also today, we've heard from Randy Cross and Philip Epps and Grayson Grunhafer. We've heard from Carol Dawson, part of the Rockets for many years as their general manager. We'll have Wade Phillips on, who visited with the Dave Aranda Baylor coaching staff earlier this week at a conference call. He'll join us at 5:30, but we're now joined by, man, I tell you what, Sam Bradshaw, S11 on SicEm365 and also on Twitter. A 5-part series breaking down Larry Fedora and his offense. He joins us on SicEm365 Radio. Sam, you have ideas, obviously, and series that you like. How do you go about? It's like writing a book. You just pick and choose what you think might be what you're interested in at that moment?
Well, first off, thanks for having me on. But the entire thing starts with the way that I approach what I do with the site is they have me on to break down who Baylor plays and what tactics they use, who some of the better players are. And during the offseason, especially with a coaching change, I point that microscope at Baylor staff to get a better idea of what Baylor's doing. And with a lot more time over the offseason, you're able to go much more in depth.
So are you now trying to maybe mix and match what he does on offense with some of the players that it might accentuate, or what's been the focus of, or is it just basically here's what Larry Fedora has done and what you can look for in this offense?
Well, this year is a very interesting year in the fact that due to coronavirus, we don't have a spring football series of practices that have already taken place. Whereas when Rule came in, you had a pretty big idea of who was going to fit where because you'd seen them in the spring. You heard the rumors coming out of spring. So here, you really didn't have too much personnel-wise to go off of. I mean, you obviously know Charlie Brewer is going to be a quarterback for you, and you obviously know that the receivers will be at some receiver position, but who is going to be your primary slot receiver? Is a guy who was inside last year possibly going to the outside? It's a complete unknown. So based on that, this series focused almost entirely on what has Fedora done in the past.
Sam, with Fedora in our interview with him a couple of weeks ago, he said that he has not watched any tape and didn't plan on watching any tape of the players that are currently on campus. Is that surprising to you, or did your research show that typically when he's somewhere for the first time, that's kind of just how he operates, and typically how has that worked out for him?
Well, it's hard to say that anything on offense hasn't worked out for the guy. Outside of just a couple years, I think he had one at Oklahoma State, and he maybe had one or two at North Carolina where they just had a down year roster-wise. The guy's been outstanding on offense. So it is a little surprising because kind of like a kid with a present under the Christmas tree, the temptation to peek ahead and kind of see what you're getting has to be immense, but the guy obviously believes in not letting prior tape cloud his judgment, and it's hard to argue against what's worked for him over his career.
One of the positions that just never was really available as a weapon, and in this day and age it's not often, is the tight end position. And they, of course, have rotated through whoever, and I don't know what they really were trying to do. Fedora seems to want to use the tight end position. What are your thoughts about what he does, what he's done, and what Baylor has?
Well, what Baylor has is they've got a number of young guys that might fit his athletic profile, but a lot of the guys that fit that mold are largely unproven, whether it be a bigger receiver type or whether it be an actual tight end that can get open a little bit. In the past, he's almost always based out of 11 personnel with one back, one tight end. And sometimes he'll go into 20 personnel with two backs and no tight ends, so on and so forth. But generally, it's going to stay close to that 11 personnel. And if he hasn't had a guy that he really likes as a tight end, and he inherited a couple really good ones when he was at North Carolina with Eric Ebron, and he had a 6'5", 240 guy that could run really fast at Southern Miss that he inherited. But if he doesn't have a guy he really likes at the tight end position, he'll usually take a receiver that's around 6 feet, and he's gone as light as like 210, 215 pounds in order to get a guy like that, because they'll spend a fair amount of time lined up in the slot, much like how Oklahoma used Mark Andrews, for instance. And he'll put him in line, he'll move him all over the place, but he's not necessarily going to substitute. He wants to be able to go up tempo to give just another thing for that defense to worry about, and keeping the same personnel on the field and having it be versatile enough to do a lot of different things with allows him that flexibility.
Greg, do you realize who his tight end was early on at Oklahoma State?
Brandon Pettigrew.
Who we covered. Craig knew him and went to school with him. At Robert E. Lee and Tyler, became a hell of a player at Oklahoma State, could be an NFL player for a long time as well. That'd be is that the perfect body right there?
As a blocker, he's absolutely perfect, but based on what Fedora wants to do in terms of getting guys downfield, I think a guy like Eric Ebron is probably the perfect guy for him based on who he's had in the past, because Ebron was just a freak in terms of his mobility. He could run like many of the receivers that Baylor's had. He could get into that 4.5 range potentially in 40. He was so good in the open field, they would potentially line him up as an outside receiver, not in the slot where you might take on somebody that's a little too small or a little slower. But no, they'd put him up against the best corner because he was fast enough to get open against them.
Sam, go ahead. Sorry.
Oh, no. You go right ahead.
With Charlie Brewer and the quarterback position, what kinds of differences are we looking at for what Fedora likes to do versus what they've been doing the last 3 years?
Well, from the standpoint of what's different between Rule and Fedora, I'm going to answer that separately. I do think Brewer and the other quarterbacks are a fit for what Fedora wants to do. He tends to have a mobile quarterback. He tailors his scheme, however, to whoever he's got, and I believe he'll be more than capable of adapting what he's doing to who he's got. As far as the differences between Rule and Fedora, Rule started with, I want to be in the power run game. We want to be physical. We want to establish that, and then everything else build off of it. Fedora simply wants to take what the defense gives you. If the defense is dropping everybody into coverage, run. If they're taking away the run, either swing it out on the perimeter or attack them downfield or get into the quick passing game. He wants to take what you're doing, knowing it's going to get something up, and he has an offense built on a lot of concepts that complement each other. And he's going to go wherever you're not, which means that sometimes it'll look like they're just working the outside of the field the entire day. I remember I looked at their game against Florida State a few years back, and first half, they were doing a lot of run, and they were doing a lot of run inside. Second half, they had to adjust outside, and they had to do a lot more pass. And it flipped like a light switch, and it was entirely based on how the defense was playing them.
Yeah, thanks for bringing that game up. Appreciate that.
Big Florida State alum Paul Catalina here.
Thanks for that one. Hey, do you see fits that Baylor has on the current roster for what he's done before?
I do. I think the receivers, you're going to have plenty of guys that could fit into what he wants to do. But where I really get excited about what he can do is the running back position. You've got guys like Craig Williams, Treston Ebner, and others that flat are some of the better ones in the Big 12 in terms of being open on pass routes. Fedora will use them to a very, very big degree. And then you've also got some other body types in there. Quaylon Jones, who's the size-speed matchup you want at running back. You've got all kinds of different weapons for him to use at running back and receiver. He's going to be able to put a ton of speed on the field, and he's going to be able to give the defense a lot to worry about with both sets of those positions.
I think about Treston Ebner when you're talking about throwing passes out of the backfield, things like that. Just it seems to me, Sam, that Treston obviously was banged up quite a bit last year, but he's just so dynamic. Is this an offense where you see him having the opportunity to flourish, given what all he's able to do?
Absolutely. I think he's going to have a huge opportunity to contribute, and I still don't think Vanderbilt's caught him yet.
Yeah, that's very true. Very true.
Yeah, so they've got this mixture of all this, weapons that he seems to be. It's like, well, he's going to go wherever you're not. Well, isn't that what playing offense is like? It seems to be simple. Were you surprised when Miranda was hired, and then eventually it was Fedora, and then George Munoz, who brings what he brings to the mix? What were your thoughts initially about the mix, I guess the mixture between all of them?
Well, when I first heard about Aranda's hire, Fedora was not the name that I was hearing rumored. And with any new hire, you kind of have to wait and see exactly what they're bringing in. And then even then, how much freedom are they giving them? Because you've had situations where a big name goes to a head coach that's diametrically opposed to them, and it just doesn't work out. So just it doesn't surprise me too much because he's been around a number of wide open offenses in the past, particularly when he was at Hawaii and at Utah State. And that's even before LSU last year, which blew the doors off of all of it. And then you bring in George Munoz, which should add a little bit of an element in terms of bringing some of what LSU was able to do and incorporating it into what Fedora wants to do. It wasn't too big of a surprise, but I was excited when they made the hire because I know he's a very good offensive coordinator. And I forget which interview or it was given in, but Aranda said something along the lines of Fedora builds in effective counters to your counters. Mm-hmm. And that's something that jumped out to me when I was taking a little deeper dive on what Fedora does. You've got pass routes where they stutter for a sec and they go into another short concept. He builds in slight little switching of responsibilities to attack the basic assumptions your players are having in your coverage adjustments. And then on top of that, he's very good at making play action passes look like his runs or his bubble screens or his jailbreak screens. It's just a lot for a defense to worry about, and I think the two are going to work pretty well together.
So, Sam, he's got the quarterback or quarterbacks that will fit what he does. The running backs are a great fit. The tight ends, are to be determined. Receivers are a good fit. How about that O-line? That's, struggled at times but improved as well over the last 3 years. Do they have what it takes up front to be able to do what he wants to do?
I think they'll have what it takes to be able to do what he wants to do, at least at the level of what they were doing with the rules. I mean, a lot of people forget this is effectively a rebuild from the ground up on the offensive line. Mm-hmm. And everybody talks about, wow, the great job that Rule did with the defense or the great job that Baylor did with the passing game or the running back. But those positions weren't decimated the way the offensive line was in 2017. I think you were down to like 5 or 7 guys that you could really rely on as offensive linemen. And I think 4 of them were converted tight ends that moved during summer and 4 freshmen that had just gotten there. It takes time to build up the depth and the strength, and you take a highly rated recruit and you put him on campus as a freshman. He's not going to push around people the same way he's going to whenever he gets to being a 4th-year junior or a 5th-year senior. It's a completely different development, and I still think Baylor hasn't quite topped out on that development yet.
Sam Bradshaw, again, it's great to have you, man. It's great to be a part of the site you're a part of as well, what we've done now since April the 6th. We hope to have you more often. We have to go. You have another series coming up. Can you just tell what it might be if you have one?
Yeah, before the season, I'm looking to get a series previewing the defense with Ron Roberts and Dave Aranda.
That'll be fun. That'll be fun.
Yeah, you might go learn how to speak another language. Yeah. And I know you will. That's what you do. Hey, good stuff, Sam. Thank you. I think Sam has this ability. He's got another job. He's got a real job.
Yeah.
And then he does this he just loves it. Fantastic. All right. When we come back, a couple of notes, including One about college athletics and, again, what football means. Ross Dellinger put out a couple of things on SI.com about what LSU, what football means to them. And it's like that everywhere, the percentages. That's coming up next. Also today at 5:30, Wade Phillips. This is SicEm365 Radio. Ideal MRI, blessed to be a part of Central Texas, and also helping you lower your health care costs. That's what they do. I'm telling you right now, even with all that everyone's dealing with, there are still injuries. There are still other things that need MRIs outside of the COVID-19. And right now, Ideal MRI is open, here to serve you through the difficult time, offering premium MRIs just like a hospital, state-of-the-art technology and specialists. And I've been through their system. The MRI machine is a monster. It's unbelievable. And their staff is fantastic. Ideal MRI accepting most insurance, and also, by the way, no hidden cost. You won't get something down a couple of weeks from now that's a hidden cost or bill that you didn't expect. If you need an MRI, ask your doctor. Their relationships with the doctors in Central Texas and throughout wherever they are in the country is fantastic. IdealMRI.com, IdealMRI.com, right now in the Central Texas Marketplace in Waco.
Ready to get outside? Go where you want to go in a new Jeep from Allen Samuels. Get employee pricing plus for all on new 2020 Gladiators and Wranglers. Put yourself in a new 2020 Grand Cherokee, Compass, Cherokee, or Renegade with 0% for 72 and no payments for up to 120 days. Let's go. Allen Samuels is ready to do business in person or online. Drive forward in a Jeep from Allen Samuels.
Ask for details. All offers with approved credit.
Riverbend Liquor and Wine has their easy-to-access drive-thru open and convenient and clean in-store location on the corner of Lakeshore Drive and North 19th Street in Waco. Riverbend Liquor has the best and most extensive variety of craft beer selections in Waco and Balcones whiskey, including single malt, hot still, baby blue, French oak, rye, and brimstone. Riverbend Liquor and Wine, family-owned and operated, and a hidden gem in Waco on Lakeshore Drive and 19th Street. And find out more on Facebook and Instagram.
Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics, the team physician of Baylor Athletics. Our doctors specialize in the diagnosis and treatment of any and all sports-related injuries, celebrating over a decade of service in Central Texas. Our doctors are equipped to handle a wide range of issues, whether it's your foot or ankle, orthopedic spine care, your hand or wrist, knee and shoulder pain, or if you're in need of our arthritis or total joint clinic. Trust the doctors that Baylor trusts. Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics. Our goal is to get you back in the game.
Richard Carr Motors is overloaded with used cars and trucks. With over 120 now in stock, they must move some of these vehicles now, and Richard Carr has over 30 used trucks in stock, all at low inventory overload prices. Are you looking for an SUV with a little bit of power? How about some power and style? How about some power, style, and luxury all in one package, in one nice SUV package? Well, don't settle. Drive the Cadillac XT4, XT5, or the 7-passenger Cadillac XT6. Experience the thrill of owning the Cadillac XT4 right now for only $35,900 at Richard Carr Cadillac. Great prices, big inventory, and free oil changes with a new purchase, plus in-town priority warranty service. All comes with your purchase at Richard Carr Buick GMC Cadillac. Richard Carr Motors are the people you can count on. A local family dealer run by Baylor Bear alumni. They want the chance to earn your business. So stop by their daily disinfected showroom and see their safety-focused staff. Or if you're a little bit hesitant about getting outdoors right now, they will bring the test drive to your home. Your comfort and safety is Richard Carr's first priority. Find them at richardcarr.com or Highway 6 at the Imperial Exit. Let Camille Johnson Realtors guide you seamlessly through the process of buying your dream home or selling your current one. Commercial, farm and ranch, or residential, Camille Johnson Realtors can smoothly and successfully lead you through any transaction with a team of 24 experienced agents who are excited about serving you. Camille Johnson Realtors services the entire greater Waco area. If you're in the market to buy or sell, contact Camille Johnson Realtors, 104 Midway Center in Woodway, or find them online at www.camillejohnson.com. Camille Johnson Realtors, elegant, charming, warm. Welcome home.
Do you love Friday Night Lights? Would you like to have a bigger role than just watching the action to ensure the games are played fairly and safely? The Waco football chapter of the Texas Association of Sports Officials, or TASO, can make that happen. The 2020 Texas high school football season is right around the corner, and we need you to be a part of it. There's a shortage of officials across the state in all sports, and you can help. If you love the game and want to be a part of the solution, you can help our local student athletes continue to participate in games they love. Never officiated before? Don't worry. Waco Football Chapter can help you and prepare you to make the right call. And right now, Introduction to Football Officiating class is accepting registrations. Make your first grade call today by looking us up and contacting us on Facebook at Waco Football Chapter or at our website, wacofootballchapter.com. Find out more about the Waco Football Chapter of the Texas Association of Sports Officials, or TASO. Go to wacofootballchapter.com.
How did Edward Jones become one of the biggest financial service companies in the world? By not acting that way. Financial strategies, one-on-one advice, it's a big difference. And that's why Brad Wilson, your Edward Jones financial advisor, makes sense of investing. Experience the difference for yourself. Brad Wilson, 250 Sharon Drive in Woodway, 254-776-4337. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
Hi, this is Mart High School football coach Kevin Hoffman, and I'm a proud listener and supporter of the all-new SicEm365 radio show with David Smoke, Paul Catalina, and Craig Smoke.
Waco, Texas, our city of remarkable growth and opportunity with an even brighter future ahead. What makes it all work is our people living, working, and growing together. And we're proud to be from here, helping and serving the community we call home. We are the First National Bank of Central Texas, taking great pride in being locally owned and operated. Come see us at any of our 5 convenient locations. That's the First National Bank of Central Texas, member FDIC, and equal housing lender.
This is SicEm365 Radio. The SicEm365 Radio call-in line segment is sponsored by Rudy's Country Store and Barbecue, where curbside pickup and drive-thru are now available. Next in line.
All right, rapid fire here. Craig, you make the quick comment here. Dana White says the May 23rd UFC event, which would be a week from this weekend, whenever it is going to be a week later. They want to be in Vegas, huh?
Yeah, they're trying to get back to Vegas, which is their home base. That's where the UFC headquarters are, and they love to run Vegas as much as possible, particularly for all their biggest fights. So they're maneuvering around the schedule, but basically the end goal is to get to Vegas as quickly as possible, so they're trying to find ways to do that.
All right, Rob Manfred, what has he said if a player tests positive during the baseball season? Not necessarily a 14-day quarantine for that player's entire team.
Well, I mean, I think you got to test the whole thing. I mean, look, I'll just use the White House as an example. The White House has 2 confirmed cases. There's still people going in there every day and doing their job. I mean, they haven't shut down the White House, so,
good.
Use the same thing.
Gary Bettman canceling the entire NHL season, or canceling the season, hockey season, not something I'm even contemplating as they look to maybe resume play.
Yeah, and, the fear there is just backing up the season to the point where it starts at the beginning of next season, but Bettman has said that, they're not having to abide by a calendar. Like, if they want to start next season later because this season finished later, then they can do that. I think we're going to see perhaps the NBA finally starting on Christmas, and perhaps the NHL starts a little bit later as well. I think those October, November months, there's no point for, the NHL, I know the fan base is a little bit different because I just feel like that's the sport where you have a lot more of your hardcores versus your casuals. But with the NBA, for you hardcores that love all 82 regular season games, great. But speaking as an average fan of the NBA, I could care less about it until after Christmas.
The other thing the NBA has run into is trying to run this 82-game schedule like they are.
Which is too long. They don't need 82.
Which is too long. I think they're realizing that. The money's still going to be there, and they're finding, the tournament or whatever, their preseason tournament thing or whatever they're going to try to do to try to make that back. But, if I'm a season ticket holder and I'm not going to get, Michael Jordan didn't sit out for rest. That's the other thing.
Yeah,
you don't see that. And look, and that's the Spurs, and I love Greg Popovich, and he invented that because he had a bunch of old players trying to win a title, and it worked. But, LeBron doesn't sit out, and that's great for LeBron. But a lot of other people do, and it's quite annoying.
You got a spam call. All right, LSU, Ross Dellinger, this is LSU's budget. the 2016-17 athletic budget cycle. Men's basketball brought in $1.6 million. Baseball just under $600,000. Of course, they're very successful. Every sport after that lost at least $750,000 or more. Women's basketball lost $4 million. Volleyball $1.8 million. Soccer $1.8 million. Football generated $56.1 million. That's why when you see what needs to happen, not because you push it through and force it through, but that's why there's such a constant urgency of what they're going to do if they can get college football in, whenever it might be.
Going back to Rob Manfred, he said today, these are all billionaire owners that we're talking about for the most part, but he said if they don't play a season, and this is Major League Baseball, not college athletics, but, you just pointed out where football is basically it feeds everything else. But for baseball, Rob Manfred, the commissioner, said if they don't play a season, the loss for club owners could approach $4 billion if they don't have a baseball season. So 30 owners, $4 billion in losses. Yeah, everybody's trying to figure out what they can to get sports back.
When we come back, his name is Wade Phillips, former head coach throughout the NFL, even with the Cowboys, won a Super Bowl with Denver. He had a conference call with Dave Aranda and his coaching staff this week, and he's next on SicEm365 Radio.
Riverbend Liquor and Wine has their easy-to-access drive-thru open, convenient, clean in-store location on the corner of Lakeshore Drive and North 19th Street in Waco. Riverbend Liquor has the best and most extensive variety of craft beer selections in Waco. Great whiskeys and other things in stock right now like Balcones, Single Malt, Pot Still, Baby Blue, French Oak, Rye, Brimstone. I even got a bottle of Rumble there a couple weeks ago. Riverbend Liquor and Wine, family owned and operated in a hidden gym in Waco on Lakeshore Drive and 19th Street. Find out more on Facebook and Instagram.
At Ideal MRI, we feel blessed to be a part of the Waco community. We're a small family business right here in Central Texas. Our goal is to bring down the cost of healthcare while maintaining high quality. In today's world, the cost of healthcare has never been more important, and unfortunately, significant illnesses and injuries still occur. That's why Ideal MRI is open and here to serve you through the difficult time. We offer premium MRIs just like a hospital with state-of-the-art technology and specialists, but you'll pay less. Sometimes thousands of dollars less, whether you're using insurance or not. At Ideal MRI, we accept most insurance and there are no hidden costs. We even offer financing. Everything's included in the price, and more importantly, you'll not get a bill in the mail later on. So if you need an MRI, ask your doctor about Ideal MRI. You can schedule an appointment safely from home, online in minutes at idealmri.com, or give us a call, 833-IDEAL-MRI. And please remember to follow CDC guidelines and practice social distancing. Stay home, except for the essentials, and be safe, and together we'll get through this at idealmri.com.
Our communities are facing unprecedented times. At Boozer's Jewelers, we care about you and your family. If you're like me, your home has unwanted or unused jewelry lying around. They can have value, and that means we can turn that jewelry into instant cash. This is a great way to get the most value from your unwanted jewelry. At Boozer's Jewelers, we buy all kinds of unused jewelry. So give us a call and let us give you peace of mind and cash for your unwanted or unused jewelry.
Live crawfish is back. The 30-pound bags of live crawfish, as delicious as you could imagine, back at Waco Custom Marketplace at 425 Lake Air Drive in Waco. $3 a pound, 30-pound live crawfish bags are available. You order by Thursday at noon. You can pick up your customized order anytime on Friday afternoon until 6 p.m. And the drive-thru now open at Waco Custom Marketplace Monday through Friday from 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. You can still order what you want from their butcher shop, including beef and poultry, seafood, and also pork. And, of course, their bakery. You can order from their bakery. You can go online, WacoCustomMarketplace.com, or go by the drive-thru. Waco Custom Marketplace, live crawfish available Monday through Friday, 10 a.m. to 6. Do you or your kids get nervous about going to the dentist? Stonewood Dental, Dr. Steve Childress, he can help.
I've spent a career taking care of patients who as children had bad experiences, and now they're adults that hate going to the dentist. If I get a kid at 3 years old and they come every 6 months and it's a happy experience, it's normal for them. Now they have an accident at 6 or 7 or 8 at school. Now they have a broken tooth or a trauma. And they have to come here. They're used to lights. They're used to water in their mouth. They're used to experience. They already trust us. It's amazing what we can do with that kid without it being a negative thing. But if I see a 6 or 7 or 8-year-old that's never been to the dentist, and now they have a trauma or an unfortunate unexpected toothache, it's harder to do that for that kid and it not be somewhat of a negative experience. So bottom line is I try to teach kids and adults and teenagers and everybody the way I'd want my family treated, which is where it's a necessary part of life. You just take care of it. It doesn't have to be that big a deal.
Learn more, stonewood-dental.com.
This is SicEm365 Radio.
Call it 2nd and 12. This one hit. Fred, our arm was hit as he released it. They're calling this one interception.
And Brett may be hurt.
Terrence Newman got his hands under it. At the 45, it's going the other way.
The SicEm365 Radio Live Guest VIP Hotline is sponsored by Stonewood Dental. We are all in this together.
Well, look, working on Wade Phillips. Earlier this week, he was invited to speak with Baylor's head football coach, Dave Aranda, and his entire staff. And so, you still
I'm still waiting to get through.
Efforting. We do have news, though.
Yeah, we do. And Craig, thanks to Deontay Epps, Deontay helped us with another note from Ross Dellinger, who we brought up from SI, from Sports Illustrated, on LSU's budget to give people a perspective of football compared to everything else.
Yeah, and I don't remember who the school was I saw earlier, but I did see it was somebody in the Midwest, maybe around Ohio, that's canceled another program today. It was one of the fringe programs, and I can't recall exactly who it was, but we're still seeing some of that. But here's the big news from Ross Dellinger, who covers LSU for SI. The NCAA D1 Council can cross a major hurdle in football's return next Wednesday, lifting a moratorium on on-campus training that would allow athletes to return to campus on June 1st. That's 2 weeks away. Several programs from the SEC to the Sun Belt have begun mobilizing to begin voluntary workouts then, and he just dropped this within the last half hour, and we've been doing the show. But looking at some of the details of it, it says council members have 3 options. They can keep campuses shut down completely by extending the ban, an unlikely ruling according to people knowledgeable about the discussions. Option number 2, they can open campuses for voluntary training without coaching interaction. Or option number 3, they can grant required training with coaching interaction. He says that members are in somewhat agreement on allowing voluntary access, but they plan to get feedback from coaches, administrators over the coming days. So there you go. Next Wednesday, there will be a vote on one of 3 ways: either extending the ban, bringing kids back on or bringing athletes back on campus with no coaching assistance, or bringing them back on campus with some coaching assistance. And we will figure that out here in a few days, I guess.
You know, just getting them back on campus is a big deal. Obviously, you're still looking at the possibility that a lot of schools might just be online this fall, but you see a lot of presidents saying, no, we're going to have people back on campus.
The third option, too, is might be somewhat unlikely, and that's the one with the coaching assistance. And the reason why that might be unlikely is because, according to Ross, there are several programs. I mean, you got to think about it. We're talking about 130 different schools, right?
Yeah.
So, you know, we think of the LSUs and the Baylors and the UTs or whoever, but there's a lot of other schools out there. So with states in different stages right now as far as lockdown and what's being allowed and reopening and all of that, it doesn't seem as though everybody will be on board with the, hey, bring them back and coaches can interact with them. Because if you can't bring kids back, then you don't want coaches being able to work with kids already, you know, a team that you're going to play later on in the season. So I think the most likely, just based on what I'm reading here from Ross, would probably be the welcoming back to campus, but maybe with limited to no coaching interaction, because your only other 2 options are the unfair advantage of some schools could do it and some schools couldn't if they bring them back, which wouldn't be even. And the only other option is we're not bringing them back, and so we're just where we are right now.
Yeah.
So
yeah, it's going to be strange whatever happens, and it's going to be, they're going to have to constantly work with it. But and again, we were talking during the break about, you know, Texas has done 134,000 tests in the last, week or so since we've opened things up. So far, there's a 4.5% infection rate. I'm sure of those 4.5%, it's, I mean, the
underlying
death,
causes.
Underlying, but those are people who are infected, but then the death rate is probably even lower than that. So again, I think a lot of states are going to take the let's see what happens here approach. If we keep social distancing in place, keep, big crowds from the thing, because I think the biggest thing is the places that are the most infected are the places that are most densely populated, where people can't help but be on top of each other, which would be like a stadium. You can't help but be on, next to somebody if you're at a stadium. So if we keep that down until we figure out what's really going on, then we can keep this thing at bay. But that doesn't mean we have to stop every single thing. So I think that's where we're at now.
Right now, can't get Wade Phillips working on it. I know we're also up against the show ending at 6 o'clock to close out the week. And if we don't get him, we will absolutely light him up immediately. Hopefully on Monday we'll record something.
Kick us off on Monday. That'd be great.
Yeah, and he's great. He's always on time, but he's been doing a lot of these conference calls with coaching staffs and consulting work, and he's kind of busy. So we'll in different ways. Now,
I do want to add on this as well, just some final notes on this, because I think this is a pretty big story. I mean, we're sitting here starving and thirsty for some football, and they're going to vote next week on whether we can start to take a really major step towards that.
Yeah.
Because if they do vote for players to return to campus, then the ball's rolling, and the ball's just sitting still right now. But it says that several conferences are going to be meeting here over the next few days. SEC decision makers are scheduled to meet next Friday. Pac-12 is meeting on Monday. Big Ten will meet on June the 2nd.
That's kind of that's a ray of sunshine. There's going to be, of course, those who are like, oh my God, no. But I mean, it's a ray of sunshine that they're even thinking about the possibility of bringing the student athletes on campus on June the 1st. And I'm all, my God,
Riley's not.
Lincoln
Riley's not for it.
No, he's very, very, he was very smart about what he said. And at the same time, what he's saying is, why rush?
Right.
Why rush to it? And we've had coaches on this show that have said, oh my God, I can't wait to get.
I think he said it perfectly. He said we've got one shot at this.
Yeah.
If we want college football, we've got one shot, and it's to be careful and do everything we can due diligence-wise.
Sounds like an Eminem song.
Yeah, but he's right, though. He's not saying, like, let's not do anything and let's never leave our house again. He's not saying that at all. He's just saying, like, June 1st is 2 weeks away, guys, and we're basically – now it feels like you're trying to rush into just allowing everything to open back up, and I think he's just being far more cautious and saying, look, if we blow this and we come back too early – then we definitely don't have a college football season. So I totally understand his standpoint.
And the thing I think everybody in the world, like the way I looked at it, we're in delay right now anyway.
Mm-hmm.
So the season starts on October 1st and not September 1st.
Yeah.
I'm fine with that.
No non-conference games, fine.
So it it lingered, like maybe the bowl season's all compacted and maybe we're alternating between NFL playoffs and bowl games for, maybe the Super Bowl's on February 16th instead of. I'm fine with all that stuff.
Right.
Let's just do it right.
I don't think we have to be locked into our traditional dates. There's really nothing at all that's saying that we have to do this here and we have to have the drafts here and we have to end the season here. All this stuff that we used to know as far as when leagues start and end, that's all a blank sheet of paper now. Everybody can restart everything and how they operate, and some are going to have to just based on when if they are renewed, their seasons begin again, and then when they're going to eventually end, I mean, there's going to be some delays and some bumping around of the schedule. So, it's like we've said ad nauseum, but this is the perfect opportunity for everybody to kind of go back to the drawing board on what they've always done and figure out what they've always done that still works really well and what maybe doesn't work as well and what they could change for the better. And I think the NBA, we've already pointed out several examples, and there's plenty of others.
PFF College at PFF_college on Twitter. After 10,000 simulations of the college football season, the chance to win the Big 12, Oklahoma 36%, Texas 17%. Who would you think would be third?
Iowa State.
TCU.
Oklahoma State. No, Oklahoma State. I'm changing my answer.
Kansas State, Baylor.
You guys
Texas
gave
Tech.
me three names pretty quick.
I'm saying TCU.
I'm saying Oklahoma State.
TCU.
Baylor.
Okay.
Which is surprising, and I probably think that's a little bit of a stretch because of the coaching change. I would think Oklahoma State would be next.
You would think so. I mean, we were doing the little Q&A that we do now with SicEm365.com that we just sort of rotate each week. One of the questions Jason King asked a couple weeks ago was in whether or not Mike Gundy was overrated. And I said no, because I don't think he's ever really brought up in those discussions about the greatest college football coaches of today's era. He's mentioned, like, after people run through about 20 other names and they go, oh, yeah, Mike Gundy, he's really good too. But I said in my answer, no, I don't think he's overrated, but I do think that they better have a big year this year. I mean, the luck that they got in the fact that 2 first-round type talents in the NFL draft decided to come back for their senior years is ridiculous. And you have a quarterback now in Spencer Sanders who's been around long enough to be better than he's been. He's got to stop turning the ball over. He was last year in that Tech game, and there were a few others that I watched. He really is bad about turning the ball over. But, he's a good player, and he's been on campus long enough now. So, yeah, they don't have any excuses this year.
There's a local media member from Channel 6, Curtis Quillen, who is an Oklahoma State grad, and I told him that he was complaining. He's an Oklahoma State grad, like I said. He was complaining about Spencer Sanders and how he turns the ball over. I said, listen, by the time that kid graduates, you're going to get a tattoo of him on your back. I think that's how good he is. Watching him in that Baylor game, again, if he doesn't turn the ball over, they probably win the game in Stillwater. But he looked like a redshirt freshman quarterback last year. A redshirt freshman quarterback with a ton of potential, but a redshirt freshman quarterback. I think he's only going to get better and better. And maybe, because Mike Gundy's had some good quarterbacks, but I don't think he's had one that's that athletically gifted as a dual threat ever. Because you think about Brandon Weeden was just a guy, mature guy, baseball player, accurate passer. He was a bus driver, so to speak. But he was a good college football player.
Who was the Bobby Reed? But he was not
Bobby
dual
Reed
threat
was
like
a
Spencer
highly
Sanders.
recruited player out of like North Shore.
Yeah, it was North Shore, I think.
And Bobby Reed was the one that triggered the 40, kind of code. But I don't think he's ever had a guy like that. Mason Rudolph wasn't that athletic. Mason Rudolph might have been the most polished guy in the pocket that he ever had. But Spencer Sanders has a chance to really be something kind of big in the Big 12. And if he, again, just don't fumble.
Yeah, just don't turn the ball over. I have another piece of news here, and this is very interesting because we started off the show today talking about the bizarre NFL story involving a couple of players basically turning a party that they were, I guess attending or hosting. I'm not even quite sure on that.
Quentin Dunbar, and who's the other guy?
Yeah, that's what
DeAndre Baker.
DeAndre Baker. I couldn't think of his name. So Quentin Dunbar and DeAndre Baker, for those that don't know, were at a party or hosting a party or whatever, and they end up turning on their guests with pulling guns and robbing their own guests. But Quentin Dunbar, now with the Seattle Seahawks, apparently has 5 witnesses, according to his lawyer, that are willing to say that he was not involved, and there's a belief now that he could be exonerated if, in fact, these 5 witnesses say that he was not involved. And it makes you wonder how he got so involved in the story if he wasn't really truly involved. Now, that's not great for DeAndre Baker because there's not 5 witnesses coming forward to say that he was not involved. But for Quentin Dunbar, maybe he's going to actually be okay out of this whole thing, which I root for. I root for both guys to be okay because the story is so absurd and preposterous to even have occurred that I hope there's guys that got wrongly accused and didn't really do this.
Wait a minute. How does that happen?
I don't, because either the media runs with it too quickly or you interviewed a witness who is not reliable. I don't know. I don't know how that happens, that your name gets brought up.
Shame on us for bringing up Quentin Dunbar in this story. We're reading what was a report based on weren't those?
This was being reported by every major outlet out there.
But there were also warrants for their arrest. So the police department has already mentioned him.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So it's not there's a warrant out for the arrest, and so that's why you report it.
According to an arrest warrant, Baker instructed at least 2 people to take the valuables, which included pricey luxury watches. Police said Dunbar was seen helping Baker, although witnesses conflicted on whether he was armed. Dunbar's defense lawyer, Michael Greco, said Friday 5 witnesses attested that Dunbar was in no way involved. So we've already jumped in less than a paragraph from he was helping but no gun to now he was not involved at all, according to these 5 witnesses. So, I mean, this is he said. So maybe he is, maybe he isn't. We don't know. That's what the police are going to have to sort out. But he sure as heck, if he wasn't involved, got his name smeared all over the last 24 hours.
One of that's weird, man.
It's still a weird
his attorney's
story.
just doing his job,
right?
As
still
well.
a weird story.
All right, I've tried to track down Wade Phillips. That's the first. Well, we had Herbie Atkins earlier this week, the former Gotham Bowl star at Baylor, when they played Utah State. I called him the next day and I said, "Hey, Herbie, we tried to call you 2 or 3. Yeah, I don't remember what we were going to talk about. He's
older,
a little older.
Well,
I mean,
I wonder if Wade's found out some of the stuff I said about him early in my radio career.
Oh no!
Well, if he did, he would block me and not even allow me to be in touch with him.
I mean, I was
so
pretty.
Oklahoma
I was pretty
Baylor,
harsh on Wade when he got fired.
Oklahoma, Texas. That's 53%. That's going to be probably surprise us not more. But then if Baylor's at 14%, who would be Oklahoma State, then TCU, Kansas,
Iowa
State.
Here's the thing about the Big 12 next year. Oklahoma's going to be good, but for the first time, they're not going to have a Heisman contender already on paper at quarterback, even though some think that Spencer Rattler will be a Heisman contender.
There's one sportsbook that's giving him like the third best odds already.
Yeah, and I get it just based off what Lincoln Riley does, that, if you've got this really highly touted quarterback that's actually going to be in the system for more than a couple of years, you feel like he's going to be incredible one day. Maybe not right out of the gates, though, but there's been a lot of hype around this young man. So Oklahoma's going to be good. Texas should be good. Sam Ehlinger's senior year, I mean, this is what they've been building for this entire time through the 4 years that Tom Herman's been in charge. So they have no excuses this year whatsoever to not be a good team. I think Baylor will be good.
I think they've got a built-in one. They have new coordinators.
Oh, well, when you fire them every couple of years, that you're always going to have new coordinators. Yeah. So, yeah, you're right, though. But, see, you can't do that again. You've used that excuse now. So he can't go out if they have a bad defense or bad offense, go hire another new coordinator and say, oh, no, it's all good now. I'm still the right guy. So they'll be good. Iowa State, are they going to ever go over 8 wins? I mean, Matt Campbell's been really good, but they get to 8 wins, and that's where it stops. So for him, he's got his quarterback back. He's got a lot of weapons back. They should be really good. I think Baylor will be really good. I think TCU will be really good. So it's going to be, I think Texas Tech and West Virginia are teams that are going to be much better. So K-State as well. That's everybody I think I just mentioned in the entire conference except for Kansas, basically. But they'll
be better year 2 under Les Miles.
Right.
They will. They'll sneak in a couple of wins more than they did just because.
Yeah, absolutely. So I do have another piece of breaking news, though, to pass along here as we get into more and more of this coronavirus and sports and reactions and things like that. A memo has been sent out to all of the NFL's chief executives and club presidents. This being reported here in the last 15 minutes. And that memo to NFL's chief executives and club presidents says the league will allow its teams to reopen facilities beginning next Tuesday. It said clubs may reopen facilities beginning May 19th if they're permitted to do so under governing state and local regulations or in compliance with any additional public health requirements and have implemented the protocols that were developed by the NFL's chief medical officer that was distributed to all clubs I guess it was about a week and a half ago.
I'll tell you who's going to be hosting a lot of stuff is the states of Arizona and Florida, because I think that
probably Texas.
I think the teams from the East Coast will come down to full. There's a good chance the Red Sox play their entire season in Fort Myers because Boston. There's no really end in sight for them, just like New York. And the Yankees might play their whole season in Tampa. With no fans, does it matter where you play at Legends Field or at Yankee Stadium? It doesn't at all.
Right.
So I think that there's a possibility there, and I think there's a good chance that teams play at the Swamp. They play at Bright House or whatever. It's not Bright House anymore. The Camping World Bowl, the Citrus Bowl.
Just say the city.
In Orlando. Yeah, Orlando. And then
in
Tallahassee, because those are big stadiums that can. Well, I mean, they've got the facilities in the stadiums that would accommodate the NFL teams.
From the memo, no more than 75 people in the building at once.
Yeah,
it's no 50, coaches and no players and coaches yet. Expect for those.
You can have 50% of your team staff, but no more than 75 people. Coaches are not allowed or will not be allowed in team facilities. So this is just simply to get the guys back to the facilities and working out to start that process. So coaches will not be allowed to be around. No more than 75 people, but that's almost your entire roster. That should be easy to pretty much manage. So yeah.
And so this is all. This is what happened. So they're contemplating this May 19th. Facilities reopened. No more than 75. Then the first response.
Well, you get caught up in the responses.
I know, but it's not just this. This is what people. What an awful idea.
Okay.
And then someone goes, why? Well, when players' parents and grandparents start dying, you'll see. It's
right. So, I mean, that's just to be expected. That's why I see something like that, I just gloss over it, because it's either somebody intentionally just trying to be the party pooper, or it's somebody who's not all that intelligent, and that's just something that you deal with when you're on social media. That's why you just can't even worry about what people say in responses. I don't even read the replies to most tweets now because it's just a lot of that type of stuff.
Yeah, and Chip Brown on his Twitter feed, Big 12 Commissioner Bob Bowlesby on Friday laid out a vision for schools to coexist with COVID-19 that included preparing for disruptions such as a probable campus outbreak during college football season.
Bowlesby really keeps laying that one on thick. He's always like positive, and then he throws that one in there like the little wrench. And I understand he's got to be that way, but
look, I would love it if they just said, if you're a student athlete, you can go on campus. If you're not, then you're going to be taking online classes. And even on campus, you're all taking online classes, but you can go back and live in your apartment in town. You don't have to stay at your parents' house anymore, and we can get sports going. I'd like to. I don't know how that would be any different than what we're trying to do now. How is it, other than the length of time you spend doing it? How's a football practice with 100 people different than me walking into HEB at this very moment?
It's just more contact, more close contact. But other than that,
but the big schools are going to have more access to testing than I do. Mm-hmm. So again,
I saw a guy today, and I forgot where I was. Was it? I can't remember. I guess it was it was at Academy. I went to Academy, and there was a guy that had on almost a muzzle like you would put on a Doberman pinscher. It's leather.
Yeah, I saw somebody using, those masks.
Hannibal Lecter
those
stuff.
Breathing masks that guys work out in. Those altitude masks. I saw somebody wearing one of those. And hey, I guess whatever you can use to cover your face.
I ordered one. I got one today that's more apt, better for if we have to wear them in a workout setting. It has little valves you can breathe out of.
Well, you do have
so it doesn't blow back in your face.
You do have a gift card I sent you a few weeks ago that apparently you haven't used because I got a notice on it from
I just got
the website.
About Amazon.com?
Yeah. So maybe you can get yourself a little breathing mask for working out. Who knows?
I mean, and again, I don't know if we're going to have to at any point or not. I just want to be ready when we do. So.
Sure.
It's a mask with what?
I'll show it to you downstairs. It's got like two little plastic things so you can breathe out of it a little bit better. It doesn't kick back in your face.
For what?
Like if you're working out, if you're doing something outside, you can breathe and the air will kind of escape from it.
Why would you need it if you're outside?
I guess you wouldn't, but I mean, maybe you're working outside or something like that.
Oh,
you can
okay, okay. But this guy had one. He was like, I was waiting for someone to, like he was going to eat the cashier.
I'll tell you what, another business other than hand sanitizer, toilet paper, eggs. I mean, eggs are going like crazy. We got to get these chickens loving each other again. But a business that's going to go up, breath mints. Yeah. Mouthwash, Listerine, because people now are smelling their own breath more, and they're going, I got to.
They realize, so
now that they smell their breath, they're going to want to clean it up.
I'm sorry, world.
I think I'm going to go with the Lucha Libre mask. I'm getting like the full Mil Mascaris and walk around HEB with that.
Yeah.
I have seen that is like kind of a new, what I guess, not an industry face mask, but I think it's going to be somewhat of one. And I think you're going to, I've already seen like several companies, even pro sports leagues are putting out the face mask with the logo on it.
I got a Cowboys one.
Yeah. So it's like a whole new thing now.
What?
Yeah.
Oh yeah. They're already selling masks with logos all over it.
Yeah, I thought it would be Florida State, not the Cowboys.
Well, it was from a company called WacoMask.com, so they didn't have the Florida State print.
Gotcha.
Otherwise, believe me, it would have been garnet gold.
Oh, gosh. Okay.
I just didn't like, I don't know. I just thought, I'll get something that's
Let's go backwards.
different.
We didn't get Wade, so we'll try to work it out. He's not responding at all. That's unlike him. That's okay. So, Sam Bradshaw, thanks to Philip Epps. Deontay, does that give you better lingo in the will?
Oh, well, hopefully. But no, I texted him afterward, and he told me to tell you guys thanks.
That was great.
Hey,
thanks for.
Like Deontay's engaged, right?
I know.
So maybe at best he should get if they were going to get him, say, like a bread maker, they should upgrade him to like a full, like a gas grill, like a grill or something.
I think
a good grill.
All the amenities in a kitchen.
Yeah.
Also, thanks to Randy Cross. Grayson.
Sam Bradshaw.
Carol Dawson. And then also our guest from the Chicago Bulls, Steve. I keep forgetting the name.
You do keep forgetting his name, and I didn't know it to begin with, but I do have it here underneath all my other tweets. Steve Shanwald.
Shanwald, who was 28
really
years. He was great. I think we could have talked to him for a couple of hours. That'd be neat to go out and have a dinner with him one night.
When we go up to shoot our episode of Chicago Fire or Chicago PD, I don't care which one I'm on, but I was hoping Chicago PD. I was supposed to be a dead body. Because on Chicago Fire and I'm a dead body, then you can't recognize me more than likely.
Probably not.
I would think that Hollywood's going to be the next to start to open things back up. They're going to need some new TV shows here pretty soon with all the reruns going on.
I've heard that movie like The Batman is looking at restarting production and stuff like that.
That's one I'm very much looking forward to. But for those who do miss Steve Shanwald, just all you need to know is Shanwald is that he's the guy who basically designed and put together the Michael Jordan statue that's so famous outside of the arena. The theme music you heard from the Bulls in their pregame back in the day, that's so iconic. Cool. He's part of that, all that stuff.
Hey,
the best that ever was and the best there will ever be. Isn't that what he said?
Which I wanted to fight with him a little bit because that's Bret Hart's whole thing. But
anytime that I ever go out on stage to do any kind of comedy, when I'm thinking of my introduction, I tell, like when somebody asks me, how do you want to introduce me? I tell them, like, at guard from North Carolina.
Yeah.
That's what I want to hear.
Thanks to all of those guests. Again, thanks to our great sponsors. You hear them every day. Thanks to our title sponsor, Ideal MRI, and all of the others that we've discussed today. Also up on the website, SicEm365.com. For Deontay Epps, for Paul Catalina, for Craig Smoke, I'm David Smoke. Thank you for listening whenever you do. However long it might be, we're back at 3 o'clock Monday. This is SicEm365 Radio.